wherever you get your podcasts.
This Larry Shelby previously on the Paul Feinbaum Show.
They want to trash me because they want to ride my coattails, and that's all you want to do, Miss Kay. That's all you're about, period.
Dear Lord, if I ever would stoop low enough to ride your coattails to a dog fight, you'd be absolutely lucky, man.
The Paul Feinbaum Show, weekdays at 3 Eastern on the ESPN app and on the SEC network.
It's NBA on ABC time. Giannis.
Freak to freak, one chip ain't enough.
Giannis lives and dies by winning.
Versus Steph.
Steph Curry hitting trays at the buzz.
This guy is a problem against the best teams on the biggest stages.
It's Saturday primetime, presented by MetaQuest. Bucks versus Warriors at 8:30 Eastern. Saturday on ABC, home of the NBA Finals.
This is your time, so take it.
The New York Life ACC Tournament. Coverage continues with the second round tomorrow at 6:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio. Ball men on campus.
He rolls out the red carpet, throws rose petals at my Notre Dame feet. Ridiculous.
You guys create the diva. You guys criticize the divas. You can't have it both ways.
That's exactly what we're having.
Check out Bald Men on Campus, wherever you get.
WING 1410 Dayton. Dayton's ESPN Radio.
Good afternoon and welcome. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Again, good afternoon. I'm Justin Kinner alongside Kev Nash. Kev, I'm hoping you can hear me. I'm all the way in Indianapolis, and I left you behind in Kettering, Ohio.
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Is there a delay?
No delay. I think we are off and rolling.
Uh-oh. We active.
That's all that matters. All right, so you're holding the fort down back in the DYT, of course. I'm in Indianapolis. Wright State tonight against Northern Kentucky. Horizon League championship game, of course. Wright State looking to get back to the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2018. I'm pretty jacked about tonight. I really wasn't too confident in Wright State the last night against Cleveland State. I was excited, but a little worried, and they took care of business, winning by double digits.
Absolutely. I was watching the game as well. You know, they started out well, and then Cleveland State made a comeback and to cut the lead down. And then ultimately Wright State was up by 10 at the half. And then I took a little detour to start dinner and everything like that. As halftime was on, I come back like, yo, the score is close again. And I was like, started biting my nails again. Like, man, we can't do this again. They can't do this again. And then ultimately, you know, the Wright State defense really hunkered down. I think that Cleveland State ended up shooting 3 for 20 from 3-point land. So the defense was outstanding. The offense was solid, and they came away with a double-digit victory. And now they play NKU tonight for the Horizon League Championship, 7 o'clock on ESPN. You'll be in the building, and hopefully our beloved Raiders can bring it home and punch their ticket.
So the last time we did this, it was the Kinner and Schlummer show, and we were at Detroit. They called it Motor City Madness at the time at Little Caesars Arena. So the last time we did the show live from for the title game for Wright State, they were able to punch their ticket to the title game. So we'll see if they're able to do that again coming up here tonight. All right, 518-1410. That's the number to call in and jump in on the conversation. And of course, you know, there's a lot going on here today, and so much going on in the world of the National Football League. And see, I think Kev forgot the phone. That's for those watching live on the Facebook and YouTube feed. That's what he's taking care of. But I want to open up with this. I don't know how to feel about this Russell Wilson news. Russell Wilson is officially a Denver Bronco. That was news I was not expecting to hear just a little bit ago, because mainly we've heard so much about the potential, the possible movement of quarterbacks. I thought there was a better chance that Aaron Rodgers played for a different team in 2022 than Russell Wilson. But within just a few hours of one another, news broke that Aaron Rodgers signs this record-breaking extension with the Green Bay Packers, $200 million for 4 years. $200 million Aaron Rodgers got paid. And the reason that that's an interesting conversation piece is because I think that impacts teams like the Cincinnati Bengals. It impacts teams like the Baltimore Ravens. And honestly, any team that has a quarterback that's on the brink of being paid here in the near future, that will have an impact. I don't think it'll have an impact on Cleveland. Baker Mayfield most likely will get paid at some point, but not like that. And I don't expect him to, nor should he. Kev, what was bigger news today? Aaron Rodgers, his huge contract extension with the Packers, $200 million for 4 years, or was it the blockbuster trade that is, of course, the Denver Broncos acquiring Russell Wilson from the Seahawks?
I think it's the Russell Wilson situation because I think once Denver found out that Aaron Rodgers was going to go back to Green Bay, that big trade package that they had for him, they just dialed up the Seahawks and said, hey, we got the exact same thing for Russell. What do you guys want to do? And now the Seattle Seahawks are in full rebuild mode. Like, everybody's up for sale. Bobby Wagner's up for sale, you know, the inside linebacker. So if your team needs an inside linebacker, Pittsburgh Steelers, he's up for sale. So everything that's going on in Seattle, it's over. That era is officially done and over with, you know, with guys from the Legion of Boom, that defense basically aging out and retiring and everything like that. Now their quarterback, now their middle linebacker is going to be gone. Only person left standing is the head coach, Pete Carroll. So it was kind of like, we talked about this before with Aaron Rodgers, like it can only go three ways. It can only be he's going to re-sign with the Packers, which seemed like the most logical move for him because, you know, the depth of the AFC, go to Denver and compete with all those other high-power offenses and quarterbacks in the AFC, or stay in the NFC where you're the king of that division, the NFC North and everything like that, and continue to win it and have a better chance to win the Super Bowl there, or walking away and retiring. I thought that he was going to stay with Denver. Ultimately, he did. I didn't think they were going to give him that big of a contract. I didn't think they were going to break the bank like that for him, but they ultimately did. But I do think it's the Russell Wilson effect, simply because I thought that Aaron Rodgers was going to go back to Denver. I didn't see Russell Wilson being the trade option for the Denver Broncos. I just didn't. I didn't even think about that. He was the furthest quarterback from my mind ending up in Denver because, you know, Russell has a no trade clause. Everything that we hearing about him, you know, his aspirations after football, his wife's aspirations and everything like that, he would end up in a quote unquote big market a la New York or Las Vegas and everything like that. But he's going to Denver.
So that no trade clause obviously plays a huge role in this conversation because I think that could, you know, that's going to play a role. What I'm curious, before I get too angry and throw a temper tantrum here, I want to know, were the Broncos the only team that they initiated talks with? Because there are way too many teams that were a Russell Wilson away from potentially being the Rams in 2022. I think your team is one of them. I think you as a Steelers fan, and I'm curious your thoughts on this, but I think you as a Steelers fan, if teams had known that he was up for sale, if you will, and your team didn't kick the tires on that, I think that's a problem. Because from reports coming out, and a lot of Pittsburgh sports radio hosts that I've come across were sharing lots of reports that the Steelers were willing to go all in to get Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
Included multiple first rounders, multiple second rounders. So if you're willing to do that for an Aaron Rodgers, why would you not be willing to do that, of course, for Russell Wilson? So the big question I have when it comes to that aspect of it, you as a Steelers fan, I think you should be upset if they didn't kick the tires on that or maybe didn't get it done. As a Browns fan, Baker Mayfield, you know, I'm a big Baker fan. I'm glad that they're bringing him back next year. But if you told me right now, Kenner, you got to pick between Russell Wilson, Baker Mayfield, who do you want? I don't even think I need to answer it. I think it's pretty obvious. I think it's Baker Mayfield. No, I'm just joking. It's Russell Wilson.
Right.
So as a Browns fan, I'm a little upset about this deal because if you look at what they had to give up, Kev, here's what they had to give up. There were players involved. I'll get to that in a moment, but they had to give up 2 first-rounders, 2 second-rounders, and a 5th-round pick. You mean to tell me that the Steelers weren't willing to give up 2 1s, 2 2s, and a 5th, plus some personnel, of course? The Browns, you can't give up 2 1s, 2 2s, and a 5th-rounder and some personnel. I'm a little annoyed right now, but I'm going to be patient because I want to see what reports come out over the next day or two of, okay, he picked the Broncos. He waived his no-trade clause to go to the Broncos.
Right.
But did the Seahawks, how many teams were they engaging with, and what was it about the Broncos that made it the most appealing? Was it the fact that he was willing to waive his no-trade? Did they pick the Broncos over the Browns, Steelers, and some other teams? That's what I need to know before I really generate a true opinion of this. Good for the Broncos, good for the NFL. Here we are about a month removed from the Super Bowl, and the NFL is still the number one talking point in all of sports right now, even ahead of March Madness. So it's a good deal for the NFL right now, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. If any team out there, if your team needs a quarterback and your team didn't kick the tires and you had cap room and cap space, you should be upset. If the Pittsburgh Steelers didn't dial them up and try to see what they could work out with the Seattle Seahawks, yeah, I should be upset. Everybody should be upset about that. You know, Russell Wilson is one of the elite quarterbacks in this league. And you're right. From the looks of everything that they gave up, 2 first-round picks, 2 second-rounders, a 5th round, Drew Lock, Shelby Harris, and Noah Fant. Didn't know that they gave up Noah Fant. Did not know that.
That's the Broncos gave up Noah?
Yes.
That's a haul.
Yeah, I didn't know they gave up Noah Fant. I just now saw it now. I didn't know that.
Picks.
I didn't know that. Now, see, for me, the picks and everything are fine. The Noah Fant thing would make me upset if I'm a Denver Broncos fan, because I would love to have Noah Fant along with Jerry Jeudy and Sutton. You know what I'm saying? Now you got 2 quality wide receivers and a quality tight end along with Russell. Like, you know, you just drafted this dude. He's a beast and everything like that. So in turn, I'm thinking, like, if this package was offered to the Pittsburgh Steelers, they would probably have to give up their young tight end and everything like that. And that would be a sticking point for me. Not enough of a sticking point that I wouldn't do it, because, I mean, an elite quarterback versus an elite or up-and-coming tight end, you got to go with the quarterback. So, yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's a haul, but you got to think where the Broncos were, or think where your franchise is, to say you're going to get an elite-level quarterback that's been willing and dealing for quite some time now. Ultimately, it's a lot. You got a window, like you always talk about. Teams only got like a 3-year window. They said, forget it, man. We're going to give up a lot and go shoot for the stars with this window.
Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Kev's back in Kettering. I'm here in Indianapolis again. Wright State, chance to punch their ticket to the NCAA Tournament tonight. Horizon League title game from Indiana Farmers Coliseum. They'll take on Northern Kentucky. So I'm doing the show remotely, but due to technology, we're able to bring the show on the road and be split up, which is pretty cool. So there's that. But
I do got to ask you a question, man.
Yeah.
Are you outside?
Now they're blowing off all the women's championship was a little bit ago.
Oh,
so
okay.
they're blowing off all the confetti and all that fun stuff.
I was about to be like,
I feel like
who's cutting the grass?
I feel like I'm back at Kettering because for whatever reason, our maintenance people, not maintenance, but our landscaping people, they thought 3 o'clock was always the best time to start mowing right outside the station window. And of course, we don't have actual radio windows that block out all the sound from the outside. So there you go. But yeah, they'll be done in a moment. But yeah, big news out of the NFL today. So we discussed which move was a bigger deal that really alters the landscape of the National Football League. I don't know if I have an answer for that, because I think both are going to really create a domino effect, Kev. For instance, we watched the Los Angeles Rams have a solid quarterback in Goff. Not a great, solid in Jared Goff, of course. Make no mistake about it. They made the right choice moving on from Goff to be able to acquire, of course, Matthew Stafford. They acquire Matthew Stafford. They give up a haul to get him. They're rewarded for it. They win a Super Bowl. If the Denver, and it's a copycat league, one team does it. I think teams are, interested in that. I think that's one reason that the Broncos took part in that conversation. But let's be real here. If the Denver Broncos go on to win a Super Bowl with Russell Wilson, okay, and this coming, of course, it doesn't have to be this upcoming season, but within the next 2 years, if the Denver Broncos go on to win a Super Bowl with Russell Wilson, and after watching what the Rams just did by making a big trade to get Matthew Stafford, I think we're going to slowly start to see teams transition to having these 2-year projects where they basically load up their roster with all of the skill position players, make sure they have some solid defensive pieces, and then they're going to unload all of their draft picks for the next 2 years to acquire a quarterback to put them in position to win that Super Bowl. That's the first domino I could see falling from this Russell Wilson deal. The other one is the Aaron Rodgers money that he just got. Kevin, that's really going to impact teams like the Cincinnati Bengals. That's really going to impact teams like the Arizona Cardinals and the Baltimore Ravens and teams like that who are in the Chargers, who are on the cusp of having to pay their superstar quarterbacks. That alters the market. Patrick Mahomes was Patrick Mahomes' money. Aaron Rodgers, now ahead of him, the highest paid player in NFL history. Which one do you think is going to create more of a domino effect as far as how it's going to impact teams in the league moving forward?
I think it's the Russell Wilson situation again. With the Rams winning it, it's giving people the green light to say, see, it's giving GMs to tell their ownership, see, look what they did. We can do that. We can do that. It's proven we can make this. We don't have to do the whole thing around the rookie quarterback and everything like that. We can go out there and go get the young pieces and then go get the veteran quarterback. We can make this happen. We can mortgage our future for the right now and then go at it this way. So I think that the Rams set the blueprint and ultimately cashed in by winning the Super Bowl. And now the Broncos are following those footsteps. With the money situation with Aaron Rodgers, the money's always going to be an issue in the NFL because it's a salary cap based league. So no matter how big the numbers get, it's always going to be a salary cap. So I don't necessarily think like the number is the issue or issue at all, because it's always going to be an issue. If the salary cap was just say $10 billion, teams are going to be at the salary cap and going to be having to fluctuate and make moves and cut players because they're ultimately going to have to pay the quarterback. So that is always going to happen no matter what. And that's what drives the sport. Being a salary cap sport, it makes everybody's interest always invested, because your team could be on top of the world one season and on the bottom next season because you're over the cap and you got to let all your star players go. But this move right here, making moves to say, you know what, forget the future. The future is here and now. Not too many teams have the gumption to do that. Not too many organizations are willing to do that. The Rams did it and succeeded. And now this is the first child of that, so to speak, is the Denver Broncos were giving that a shot. So I think it's that situation. I think it's just a branch of the Rams tree that say the Broncos are going to give that a shot, doing it their way as opposed to the other way that everybody always seems to go about it.
Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. I'm in Indianapolis. Kev's back in the WING studios. If you want to give the show a call, you could do so at 518-1410, 518-1410. We're live on Facebook. Search the Justin Kinner Show on Facebook and leave your reactions, of course, in the comment section, as well as on ESPN Dayton's YouTube channel. Make sure you like and subscribe to that as well. We appreciate every different way that you guys take the show in, so thank you for that. So I said a little bit ago that, man, I'm going to be really upset here in the coming days if I find out that the Browns didn't even effort to get information on Russell Wilson. You know, if I'm, with Kev, a little bit different situation, but did the Steelers kick the tires on this at all? So Deborah, shout out to Deborah. Let me make sure everyone can read this for those watching live on Facebook. Deborah says that Adam Schefter has reported that Denver GM initiated talks 2 weeks ago for Wilson. Interesting trade announced right after Rodgers trades gets announced. But see what that says, Deborah, and thank you for that. Haven't been able to keep up with everything because coming in so quick before the show today. But what that sounds like is that's why Denver's a great organization. I mean, Denver, you know what I mean? Like everyone thought, man, Denver, they're going all in to get Aaron Rodgers. But they knew that there's a good chance Aaron Rodgers could re-up and, extend in Green Bay. And that's what had happened. But they had a backup plan.
Yeah, they put both fillers out.
Yeah, and Deborah, by the way, that's a great point. It is interesting that the second that Aaron Rodgers announces that he's going to re-up with Green Bay, what did the Denver Broncos do? Okay, deuces Aaron Rodgers. Now we want Russell Wilson, and that's how that got done. But that's a good management right there, front office being prepared. So it's a great deal for Aaron Rodgers. Great deal for the Broncos. Good for Aaron Rodgers. He gets his money. It's a win-win for everybody in that situation. But yeah, Kev, I'm going to sit back and be patient about who kicked the tires on what. But 518-1410. Let's go to who do we have, Kev?
We got Adam.
Hey, Adam, how are you, man?
Hey, great, guys. Thanks for taking my call. So two hypotheticals for you with this Russell Wilson trade. Start with the Browns, so Browns fan can answer this question. So hypothetically, if the Browns say they do Baker Mayfield, Malik Jackson, and I know he just got franchised, but David Njoku, 2 1s, 2 2s. If you're the Browns, do you make that trade?
Repeat that one more time. If what?
So hypothetically, right? So the Browns offered Baker Mayfield, Malik Jackson, defensive lineman. So just kind of copycat here what Seattle got. And then I know he just got franchise tag. We'll just use him, like I said, hypothetically. David Njoku. So you got Baker, Malik Jackson, David Njoku, 2 1s, 2 2s. If you're the Browns, do you do that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, when I was looking at that deal, straight up, for the Seattle gave or was able to receive 2 1s, 2 2s, a fifth, and of course, some solid players as well. The Browns will probably never be in as good of a position as they were right now to be able to acquire a guy like a Russell Wilson or an Aaron Rodgers, mainly because Baker Mayfield, I know he's not an elite quarterback, not top 10, but if you could send a Baker Mayfield along with multiple first rounders, maybe a David Njoku or whoever, I still think the Browns had one of the better offers out there because no other team had a quarterback that they could have sent in exchange for Russell Wilson that is as good as Baker Mayfield. Like, you know what I mean? Like Baker Mayfield, say what you want, but if you get him in a trade and you have to unload your star quarterback, there are worse quarterbacks to have in a deal like Flynn, as far as that's concerned. So we'll see what ends up happening there.
No, okay, completely agree. So we agree there. Okay, so now Kev, the Steelers fan.
Yes,
You're
sir.
a Steelers fan. Do you do?
Yes.
We'll just QB on your QB
Yes.
on your roster. Well, let's go QB on your roster. Let's go.
Long as
what defensive lineman your choice in the picks?
Long as the defensive player is not named Minka Fitzpatrick or T.J. Watt, yes.
Okay, so I was going to say, I was like Cam Hayward, he's good. And like
OHIO, bye-bye.
All right, sounds great, guys. Thanks for the time.
Thanks, Adam. Appreciate you. No, in all seriousness, at the end of the day, I looked at the Cleveland Browns and I thought, man, if I'm Seattle, I would have preferred a deal with the Browns because if I end up, and by the way, I said Flynn. What the hell did I say Flynn? I meant
Matt Flynn. You think of the good old Matt Flynn.
Not even Matt Flynn. I meant Drew Lock. I don't even know how I got those two mixed up, but thank you for the correction, Jake Whiting. Shout out to Jake. But no, if I'm Seattle and the Browns are willing to give up 2 1s, 2 2s, a 5th, and Baker Mayfield and another skill player, maybe it's a David Njoku, that's one hell of a deal. The Browns probably had the most assets and the most available, the best piece, because if you could include a quarterback in that deal, quarterback for quarterback with, of course, the surrounding pieces, there was no better offer, in my opinion, than what the Browns could have potentially offered. I don't know. Baker Mayfield's the guy for Cleveland moving forward, Kev. That's what that says to me. Unless I see a report that Russell Wilson said no, used his no trade clause because he didn't want to go to Cleveland, don't blame him. But I'm just saying, if I see a report that he vetoed that trade and waived his no trade clause, then okay, I'm fine. But if the Browns, who I like Baker Mayfield, but I think that's a dumb decision to not even inquire about Russell Wilson when you have the opportunity to upgrade a quarterback, especially in the AFC. Not a good look if for the Browns if that's the case.
Yeah, it's kind of like where for each organization on this new journey in football, this NBA type of model where they're willing to have a whole bunch of star names and players on one roster and everything like that, as opposed to building through the draft. Because every organization isn't there yet. It takes a lot of convincing. It takes a lot of new minds in there because you got to think, man, some of these guys that have been in football, they've been in their whole lives and it's been done one way the entire time that they've been there. So it takes a while for somebody to come in there and come with a new trick. It's normally young guys and everything like that. And I know Andrew Berry's a pretty young guy and everything like that, but he's been with the Browns organization for quite some time. So they kind of have a way of doing things, building through the draft and everything like that. So especially with the Pittsburgh Steelers, if we're going to talk about my team, like that would be out of character for them. So if they were to do it, I would have been blown away. I would have been super surprised. I'd have been happy, obviously. But like each team is on their own journey to do this. Like just because we as fans want it, like, hey, man, they did it like that. You got to do it like that. We got to roll the dice and everything like that. These teams and these owners and these GMs, it takes them a while to jump aboard that train because they think like, no, my way is the right way. We've been doing it like this for X amount of years. And you got to think some of those guys that do think like that, they think this Rams thing is a fluke. Like, man, that's just a one-off. Let me see it again. All right, that's 2. Let me see another one before I'm totally convinced. Like, that's how these guys think a lot of the times. They want to see it more than once before they're willing to mortgage their future and everything like that.
Lamar Shelley on Facebook, Kev, says, somebody needs to explain to me why Denver is supposedly a quarterback away. I don't get it. They are still they are still not the best team in the division to me. I agree. By the way, I don't think that this makes Denver a favorite. I think it makes them a Super Bowl contender. I don't know. I can't even go that route. They're a contender. I don't know if I can go as far as saying a Super Bowl contender. I kind of agree with Lamar a little bit. I'm not seeing it mainly because of the way that the AFC impacts the perception of the Broncos. If this Broncos roster is in the NFC, I'm with you. I think it's a Super Bowl contender as far as at least getting there. In the AFC, I'm not sure. They're not better than the Chiefs. I'm not sure what the gap is between them and the Raiders at this point. So I'm really just kind of looking at this saying, I don't know. I don't know really what happened. I think that if the Browns were able to pull off this Russell Wilson deal, the Browns would have been legitimate Super Bowl contenders at that point with Wilson, as opposed to Denver, even though Denver does have better wide receiver talent at this very moment.
Yeah, Denver's got 2 stud wide receivers. Unfortunately, they had to let Noah Fant go, because if they'd have been able to finesse that and keep him, I would have said, yeah, I think they're probably 1B to Kansas City, or even the Bills and everything like that. Their defense is legit. That defense is outstanding. So they got a lot of pieces on defense. So a lot of that stuff that people are watching with the Denver Broncos and the Broncos fans and their organization thinking like, man, Drew Lock just wasn't getting it done. Teddy Bridgewater wasn't getting it done. We need an elite level quarterback to push us over the top and everything like that. It's worth a shot. It's definitely worth a shot, because you look at the Denver Broncos the year before Peyton Manning showed up, they were just like this team that Russell Wilson is showing up to, an elite defense that couldn't do anything on offense. You plug in a Hall of Fame quarterback, they make it to the Super Bowl, and then another year or two later, they actually win the Super Bowl and everything like that. They're rolling their dice with that, and I can't fault them for it.
All right, then last thing on this, too, before we step away for a few moments, 518-1410, 518-1410. That's the number to call in, by the way. Kev, the AFC West ranked the quarterbacks. I mean, to me, it's Patrick Mahomes, it's Justin Herbert, Russell Wilson, and Derek Carr. Very good division, by the way, quarterback-wise. That rivals the AFC North at this point. Actually, no, it's better than the AFC North at this point. Rank the quarterbacks in the AFC West.
You just did it.
Right, that order?
Yeah, that order.
So you gave up all that draft capital to not even have the third best quarterback in the AFC. You gave up all that draft capital to get the third best quarterback in your division.
Now ask me the best teams.
Who are the best teams?
Broncos. I think Broncos are the best team. I think their defense is way better than everybody's in that division. By far. By far.
Coincidentally enough, I look at KC still being number 1, the Chargers 2, Broncos 3, Raiders 4. But again, the free agency and the draft coming up, we could reevaluate that. But it'll be interesting here in the coming weeks to see how all that kind of pans out. Good stuff coming in the chat section. I'm not ignoring all of you. In fact, I'm going to get to everyone's responses on the other side. Give Kev a call back in the WING studios. He'll patch you through to me even out here all the way in Indianapolis. Wright State, Northern Kentucky tonight. Horizon League title game. Can Wright State get back to the NCAA Tournament for the first time since 2018? We'll find out. That's coming up. 518-1410. More of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash next.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be mostly cloudy, a high near 43. Tonight's going to be mostly cloudy with a chance of snow, a low near 35. And tomorrow's going to be mostly cloudy, a high near 48. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather brought to you by Cullet Propane, keeping utilities simple and families warm since 1952. See how and more at culletpropane.com.
Cutting the price of your wireless bill feels good, really good. Actually, it feels great. You should try it out. So cut your bill by switching to Straight Talk Wireless, now offering our $45 Silver Unlimited plan with 5 gigabytes of hotspot and nationwide 5G on America's largest, most dependable networks. The $45 Silver Unlimited plan from Straight Talk. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
A month equals 30 days. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com. 5G capable device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
O'Reilly. If your vehicle squeals or grinds when you slow down or just isn't stopping like it used to, you may need new brake rotors and pads. Now through May 24th at O'Reilly Auto Parts, get 15% off a set of Brake Best Select or Import Direct brake pads and 2 rotors. Restore safe braking and save money now at O'Reilly Auto Parts or order online at O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Hi, I'm Flo from Progressive. Being a baseball fanatic like me can be stressful. It's not all sports points and touchdowns. So Progressive is going to help you take your mind off your team for a moment. Instead of thinking about how they missed that goal point score, think about the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, letting you choose coverage options based on your budget, unlike your team that missed the end zone net area. Well, anyway, hope this distraction about Progressive's Name Your Price tool was helpful. It sure kept me from thinking about all those penalty balls. Yay, sports!
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Hi, Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for fur babies. If you think it's been hard being stuck at home for a year, think about your dog. It's been 7 years for them, and they deserve to get out and sniff the world too. So grab Daisy, Ranger, or Doodles and hit the road. But be sure to stick your head out the window and look for a Motel 6. And like all pets, Baxter stays free. Hot dog. I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/find. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/find. That's ZipRecruiter.com/find. ZipRecruiter.com/find.
Hey, here to tell you about my friends at Cordell Transportation. They're now hiring Class A CDL drivers and offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily, dedicated lanes, and no-touch freight. Brand new equipment as well. Medical, dental, vision, and company-paid life insurance. Call Cody right now. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Tip off to frickin' madness. When we say tip off, not only are we talking about every college basketball game available, but our new barbecue rib tips only at Frickers. Delicious bite-sized barbecue rib tips with your choice of dipping sauce. Every game played to the march to the national championship and domestic draft personal pictures for only $6.50. Tip that personal picture. Tip off to the national championship of college basketball and frickin' barbecue rib tips at the home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Frickers.
At Progressive, we know there's nothing like the feeling of riding your motorcycle with your buddies on the open road. It's a potent cocktail of thrills, laughter, and pure adrenaline. A feeling that would be impossible to recreate on the radio. Until now. Hit it, sound effects guy.
I'm real proud of you, son.
Wow, that was terrible. Our apologies for even trying. Quote with Progressive and see if you could save with America's #1 motorcycle insurer. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
You can unlock more cash than you realize from your home's equity with a cash-out refinance today. In the last year, average home values have gone up nearly 20%. And with Rocket Mortgage, you can unlock thousands in less than 3 weeks. But you've got to act right now before rates go up. So when you're looking to unlock the cash in your home, Rocket can. Call 833-8ROCKET today or go to rocketmortgage.com to get started.
Rate current as of 12/12/21. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender license in all 50 states. NMLS-ConsumerAccess.org. Number 3030. Call 800-490-1233 for disclosures and cost information.
What's done more to improve overall health and wellness, modern medicine or personal hygiene? Actually, it's both. But considering that bathing went mainstream in the 1800s and brushing your teeth in the 1900s, isn't it time for something new, like cleaning your nose? After all, your nose is the body's air filter for trapping dirt and germs, the first line of defense against allergens, bacteria, and viruses from getting into your lungs. But how do you clean your nose? With Navage. Navage isn't medicine, it's more like plumbing. Navage uses powered suction to pull saline in one nostril to the very back of the nose where germs can get trapped and multiply, and then out the other nostril, flushing out mucus and microbes so you can breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier. Join over 2 million others and find out for yourself how refreshing and easy to use Navage is. At Navage.com, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, and Target. Navage. Clean nose, healthy life.
Ray Magliozzi here. eBay Motors has the right parts at the right prices. 122 million of them. And if there's one thing I love, it's great parts and great prices. eBay Motors, let's ride.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, we are back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, hanging out with you live on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Kev is in the WING studios. I'm live here in Indianapolis at Indiana Farmers Coliseum. Here working the Horizon League Championship game. Wright State looking to get back to the NCAA Tournament for the first time since 2018. They'll take on their biggest rival, Northern Kentucky. Coming up later on tonight, ESPN, 7 o'clock. What a way to kick off, or tip off, I should say, the week of March Madness. I can't believe Selection Sunday is already coming up this week. We will release our bracket challenge coming up here in the coming days as well. So every year we always have a lot of fun with that. We will make sure that that's up and rolling here by tomorrow or Thursday at the latest. But that way everyone can pre-register and get their brackets all prepared before Selection Sunday. You can submit your picks. Perfect bracket wins $1 million.
Wow.
I was thinking the quickest way to retire and stop working is just pick the perfect bracket. How hard could it be?
Easy money. And man, the first day of the tournament, not the first four and everything like that, but that Thursday is actually St. Patrick's Day. So, I know a lot of bars in town are going to be prepared. They're going to be prepared and active next week.
For the first time in years.
Yes. I forgot about that. First time in 2 years.
Finally, a regular, normal, whatever the new norm, whatever, but finally a regular NCAA tournament, if you will, with not as many restrictions and everything. In fact, I was walking around the arena a little bit ago. I didn't have a mask on, and I felt like a badass. I was like, I was walking by security personnel, smiling, cheesing away. Like, you're not going to tell me to put, okay, cool. I don't have to put the mask on. So, it is what it is. But anyways, talking NFL, big day in the National Football League. As I said earlier, the crazy thing is the Super Bowl was about a month ago. In fact, it was a month ago. And it's still the number one talking point. Technically, free agency hasn't started, Kev. The draft hasn't even got here yet. Like, that's the thing.
Right.
That's what's crazy about all of this. I can't wait for free agency. And I think that this kind of helps a little bit. I'm kind of glad Russell Wilson's off the market. I'm glad Aaron Rodgers finally decided what he wanted to do. They had to get a deal done because I think the Packers had until 4 o'clock to figure out what they were going to do with Devontae Adams.
Right.
Most likely going to franchise tag him unless something's happened with that. Again, I haven't been able to keep up with everything out and about today, but that'll take care of that. Aaron Rodgers, it reminds me, that deal that he signed with Green Bay, Kev, it reminds me very much of when Kobe Bryant was in the tail end of his career. Remember, he had never signed the biggest contracts with the Lakers, and that last contract, he knew he was in position to sign that one last major deal.
Mm-hmm.
He knew that he would be the highest paid player in the NBA at that time, and if he did that, the Lakers weren't going to have a whole lot of cap space to be able to kind of put some pieces around him. But he said, hey, I've done a lot for this franchise. Won, obviously 5 NBA titles. So he went ahead and he bit the bullet. And the Lakers weren't competitive. A lot of bad decisions made by the front office, but it became a lot more difficult with one player absorbing so much of the cap space. That's what's happening in Green Bay now. Aaron Rodgers becomes the highest paid player in NFL history. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that, he felt like back-to-back MVPs. He won a Super Bowl with the franchise. They're saying they want him to stay. They're begging him to stay pretty much. So I think he's like, okay, put your money where your mouth is. My thing, and Colin Cowherd talked about this on his show, the only red flag that he said that popped up for him is if you're in a relationship, Kev, and your significant other says, I'm torn on whether I want to be with you or not. Mm-hmm. How committed are they? Aaron Rodgers saying that the reports coming out that he was torn on what decision to make. How committed is he to Green Bay? To be fair, weighing his options. Is a Super Bowl waiting him in Green Bay? Will he get another one? I don't think he will. The only reason he might be in a decent position to maybe flirt with it is the fact that outside of the Rams, I think that the Green Bay Packers are the second best team in the NFC. Dallas is going to be in the mix. If Philadelphia was able to pull off that Russell Wilson deal, that would have been interesting. But overall, the NFC is weak. And one of their top quarterbacks being sent to the AFC, Kev, unbelievable. The NFC just got weaker today.
Yeah, for sure. You look at, I'm not sure how much of the money is guaranteed for Aaron Rodgers, but you said 4 years for $200 million.
Oofa.
Man, that's a lot of money. And I mean, he's great. He's great. He's been great. I mean, he's back-to-back MVPs and everything like that. And I thought that the Packers were always going to franchise Davante Adams regardless of what happened with Aaron Rodgers, because they weren't just going to let Davante Adams hit the free agency without getting anything in return. The good old NFL with the signing trades and everything like that. That's what was going to happen. So they were always going to ultimately franchise tag him, which now with Aaron Rodgers signing this deal, you franchise tag him and see if you can work out some numbers to lock in Davante Adams for a long-term deal. But guys that aren't going to be with the Denver Broncos, going forward, the middle linebacker is not going to be able to get a re-up and sign and stay with them. So it's a lot of other parts out there that this ultimately has an effect on and everything like that. Lazard, he probably won't be there. He's their second leading receiver and everything like that. So it doesn't just affect Aaron Rodgers or Davante Adams. Those guys are going to get taken care of. Now it's up to the GM of the Green Bay Packers to hit the draft and fill the holes of the guys that aren't going to be able to sign the big contracts, because those guys want contracts too, and they're ultimately going to be free agents, and they're not going to have enough money to sign them.
Real quick, Ann Anderson, she messages into the show, Kev. She says, "Go Broncos." She absolutely loves this trade.
That's right. Ann is a
big old Broncos fan. So it's a big deal for her and the Broncos. And Kevin and I were debating this a little bit ago before taking our first pause of the show about Russell Wilson. Obviously, it's a blockbuster trade. A former Super Bowl winning quarterback, of course. Russell, one of the top quarterbacks in the National Football League. But how big of a move is this? Obviously, Denver's much improved. I mean, you improved the quarterback position drastically by adding Russell Wilson. But I don't know if they've improved enough to where I could put them above the Chargers or the Chiefs for me. You have them above both. You think that the Broncos are the best team in that division?
Yes, I think that their offense now is capable of scoring points, which it wasn't last year. Now they have a quality quarterback, but their defense has always been there. They had one of the best defenses in the league last year with terrible quarterback play, not only with turnovers, but not being able to move the ball past a 50. We looked at the Cincinnati Bengals, what they were able to do down the back half stretch of the regular season, but they were only able to score 17 points against that Denver Broncos defense and everything like that. So that defense is better than everybody's defense that they're going to go up against and everything like that. And now their offense is raised up a level or two. So I think they're the number one team in the AFC West.
Yeah, Denver Broncos had the 8th-ranked defense in the National Football League last year. Only teams ahead of them, teams like the Bears, the Saints. How about the Cleveland Browns coming in with the number 5 rated overall defense, which I don't know. I watched every damn game. I'm really trying to figure out how they finished at number 5. But anyways, the Patriots, the Niners, Panthers, and Bills. A Bills fan got on me a few weeks ago because I butchered that. I am so used to saying that the Bills need to upgrade on defense. They had the number 1 rated defense, at least from a total yards standpoint. Very good against the run. The Broncos were, of course. They didn't give up a lot of touchdowns through the air. And, of course, that's some of their draft picks that hit. The first couple rounds, of course, they've been making that a point of emphasis. So Denver, I'm fine with what Denver did. Good for what Denver did. If the Browns did, I'd be happy. I think any fan of any team that needs a quarterback, they feel, the Broncos fans feel elated about what's going on today. But it will be interesting. So Damon Hahn says, Kev, that Denver is claiming, according to reports, that Russell Wilson was plan A. He was not plan A. He was not plan A. The Denver Broncos did not go sign one of Aaron Rodgers' best friends and the coordinator that he was super close with to go get Russell Wilson. I know they have to do that to kind of save face, but at the same time, I know you're not going to tell your significant other that you're the one that I knew I was going to be with all along. I know you're not, there's probably somebody else, but you're not going to tell her that, right? That's what they're doing. They're just telling Russell Wilson that maybe there's no one prettier than you. You're the hottest chick here. That's what the Denver Broncos are doing.
Yeah, like you talked about in the first segment, they did the smart thing. They were talking to Aaron Rodgers and talking to the Green Bay Packers, and they were talking to the Seattle Seahawks about potential trades, because you put it out there. I mean, you're putting your team in a better position to win, because if one says no, you go to the next one. It's almost like you make the analogy to dating. You go out to the bar, you ask for a lady's number. She says no, jump over to the next lady. Just keep going till you find one. And now the Denver Broncos have found one.
Next. It's basically, I mean, and again, that's business. Nothing wrong with that. So Steve Keaton has an interesting question, or point, I should say. Steve says that Denver's defense won't be the same, close to the same next year, because he says he credits a lot of that to Vic Fangio. It was a big reason for how good they were. A loss like that could impact, Denver getting the offensive coordinator from the Packers. Could they become more of an offensive-minded team?
Well,
the problem with that is I don't like if you get an offensive-minded head coach or a defensive-minded head coach, you're only as good as your coordinators. So, if you have a great defensive coordinator to complement an offensive-minded head coach, that's going to be the responsibility of that defensive coordinator. I know Vic Fangio is very good at what he does, but at the same time, the players, you have to have the right ingredients to cook that meal. And we know the Broncos have the ingredients to cook that meal. I think it would take a lot of tinkering in the opposite direction to ruin what the Broncos established last year on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, because they didn't trade any of their players off of defense. I mean, Draymond Jones is still going to be there. Bradley Chubb's still going to be there. So those are the two rushing ends. They're still going to have Justin Simmons, one of the best safeties in the league. They're still going to have Patrick Surtain II, one of the best corners in the league as a rookie last year. So they'll be perfectly fine.
So here's the other question I have. Seattle, they move on from Russell Wilson. That's a rebuild, right?
Yes, sir.
Are you selling everybody?
Yeah.
Is Metcalf available?
Yes. I think everybody's available.
Cleveland, I'm kicking the tires on that move right there.
Because I believe, he's still on his rookie deal. So I think he's going into his last year. So, I think everybody's up for grabs. Bobby Wagner, the middle linebacker from the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm dialing them up. They need help at the inside linebacker position. Why not get a veteran like that to put alongside Devin Bush? Maybe Devin Bush can learn a thing or two from him. They're up for sale for all their good players.
Damon Hahn also gave a hashtag Kev is right. So there you go. Hashtag Kev is right.
Thank you.
Keith Tolliver says, adding Von Miller again, the Broncos are going to be a problem. Shaw ranks the AFC West. He says the Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, Raiders in that order. Some guy about the Browns, Kev, interesting point here, because I think a lot of people are upset. I was a little annoyed that, if the Browns did not kick the tires on a potential Russell Wilson deal, I'd be a little annoyed. Some guy on Facebook says, at that kind of price, I'm glad Cleveland was not involved. Hypothetically, if Cleveland traded for him, who do you think the players the Browns would have sent be? Baker and Njoku, a young defender like obviously Koromoa, or maybe Delpit. Yeah, I'm glad the Browns didn't make a deal like that, he says. Also very valid points as far as that goes. I've said this before when I go back and forth with Bengals fans, because they brag all the time about Joe Burrow, as you should. But when the Bengals wrap up all of their money into Russell Wilson coming up, or to Joe Burrow here in the next year or two, they're going to become a lot more restricted on what pieces that they can add. And history shows that obviously they're not going to be Super Bowl contenders. There's a reason that the Seahawks dipped once Russell got his money. There's a reason the Packers dipped once Aaron got his money. There's a reason you're starting to see, obviously the Chiefs having to make some interesting moves now that he has the money. It's not a surprise to watch these teams start to fall off, or at least maybe kind of plateau a bit once their quarterback gets that money. So I can't wait for Joe Burrow to get paid. I can't wait for Lamar Jackson to get paid, because while Lamar has taken up a huge chunk of the Ravens, money, the cap space, and while Joe Burrow will take up a huge chunk of the Bengals cap space, their lives are going to be a lot more difficult in putting enough pieces around those to be effective. And if I'm the Browns and you have to pay Baker 25, guess what? Now you get to keep a lot of those pieces around. Will the Browns have the best quarterback in the AFC North? Absolutely not. But will they have more of a complete team than the Bengals and the Ravens moving forward? I definitely believe that's the case. We'll see what happens.
Oh, for sure. And that's the juggling act of the NFL and the NBA for that matter, but especially in the NFL, because these guys, especially at the quarterback position, is such an important position on the team. So they want to be rewarded for everything that they do. And then once they are rewarded with those contracts, ultimately they have to continue to step their game up and carry teams and everything like that. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see if you can keep elevating not only your play, but elevating the play of others. It's something that we've seen year in and year out from Aaron Rodgers, him elevating the talent of mediocre receivers and everything like that. And now that he has a baller at wide receiver, they're trying to make sure they keep that connection going as long as they can.
Jake Whiting, big old Bengals fan. He says, I can't wait for Baker to get paid. Look, Baker's going to get paid, and he'll get paid around $25 million up to $30 million. that's, everyone talks about the market that, it starts higher. I disagree. I think you pay for what you bring to the table. And I think Baker and his camp would be delusional if they went to the Browns and demanded 40+ mil. And if the Browns give that to him, you will see me all of a sudden slightly turn on Baker Mayfield because I know Baker's limitations. I know that Baker is worth about that 25 to 30 range. I think he is that good. I think he's good enough to make that kind of money. I don't think he's good enough to make the 40. And if his camp's going to demand the market price for what a starting quarterback in the league is, then if I'm the Browns, I'd say, well, we have no problem hitting the reset button on all of this before we lock ourselves to a 6 to 7 win team for the next 4 to 5 years with Baker Mayfield making 40+. So, Jake, when you say you can't wait for Baker to get paid, I'm assuming that's because you think that he's going to get paid that money that all the other starters are. But you know why Aaron Rodgers got that money? It's because he's freaking good. You know why Lamar is going to get paid? It's because he's good. Joe Burrow will get paid because he's good. Baker's solid. He's not that good. So I hope when the Browns pay Baker in that 25-30 range, you don't realize that that's actually a problem for the Bengals. That's a problem for the Ravens because I can't win. I say I can't wait for Joe Burrow to get paid. I can't wait. I can't wait for when Joe Burrow has less weapons. I can't wait for when the defense has less weapons. I can't wait for all of that because then he'll get exposed like Russell Wilson and all the other quarterbacks got exposed. Not as good when you don't have as many weapons around you. So I can't wait. Pay him. Pay him now. I hope that the Bengals pay him right meow. So there you go.
Kenner already on the warpath. And it ain't even NFL season yet.
Well, these people in this arena, they keep looking up here at me like I'm strange as hell. But to be fair, they were doing that before the show started. So
like, who's this guy?
Lamar Shelley says this salary cap is creating some of this. The fact that you can give a star player his money up front in a signing bonus, cut a backup player, and all of a sudden eliminate your debt is odd. Everybody may as well go all in with roster moves. You can it's temporary restructuring though, Kev, right?
Yeah.
Because it still counts against the cap or whatever.
But just the number is lower. I mean, Dak Prescott just signed his deal last year and already restructured it this year.
Didn't Zeke do the same?
Did he? I didn't see that.
I thought it was Dak and another player. I was reading it in a hurry coming in here. 2 players in the Cowboys restructured their deal to give them a little bit more cap space. But that's called having a good front office and having being a little bit friendly on the player side too. I mean, they're getting their money. It's just in a different way. So I'm fine with that. But like I said, as a Browns fan, I can't wait. Pay him. Pay them all. Pay Lamar. Pay Mason Rudolph. I hope they pay Give Mason Rudolph 40, Kev. Come on now.
No, we're
all
good.
Right.
We're good.
518-1410. That's the number to call in and jump in on the conversation. Kev is back in the WING studios. He'll get you on hold, and we'll take your calls on the other side. I want to get into this Calvin Ridley deal. I want to get into this Calvin Ridley conversation. I can't believe it's like no matter what you do, no matter what mistake you make, somehow if you make the mistake, you're the victim. I don't get it. I don't get how Calvin Ridley is just being carried across all these shows as, oh, poor Calvin. Can't believe he got suspended for a whole season. Poor Calvin Ridley. Oh, I just want to live in a world where you could break the rules and not be held accountable. As Kev loves when I say, rules are the rules. Calvin Ridley, conversation, 10 minutes. We'll be back in 5.
The Justin Kenner Show with Kev Nash. Presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
The CFOs that get it, get it. The CFOs that don't. Behold the CFO, the Chief Financial Officer. This isn't some bean counter. Today's CFO is critical to the strategy, growth, and profitability of the business. But in growing companies, there are 2 kinds of CFOs. One who's struggling to keep up with spreadsheets everywhere, manual processes, errors, and lack of visibility into the numbers. It takes weeks to close the books. And one who's on top of their game. Automated reports, inventory, e-commerce, and HR flow into the financial models seamlessly. Insights coming with a click of a button. This CFO uses NetSuite by Oracle with visibility and control of your financials, inventory, HR, planning, and budgeting. NetSuite is everything you need to grow all in one place. That's why NetSuite is the #1 cloud financial system used by over 28,000 growing businesses. Like I said, the CFOs that get it, get it. The CFOs that don't. Head to netsuite.com/radar for a special one-of-a-kind financing offer. netsuite.com/radar. netsuite.com/radar.
If you're suffering every day with joint pain, stop and listen. You can get real, lasting relief now with natural biologic treatments at QC Kinetic. Hey, it's Keith Byers. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative solutions that can restore and repair damaged tissue with no surgery and no drugs. This is the relief you've been hoping for. The unique protocols at QC Kinetics were created by a physician with years of study in regenerative restorative medicine. They're treating patients every day in hundreds of clinics nationwide with remarkable success, life-changing results with zero downtime. It's the new, better, smarter, non-surgical, non-invasive way to deal with joint pain. And yes, they're right here, ready to help you now. Call for a free consultation. Make this spring and summer your best ever with no joint pain holding you back. Give them a call at 937-936-0325. One more time, 937-936-0325.
Germain Honda Beaver Creek is your local Honda dealer. For a limited time, get 0.9% financing on the 22 Honda Pilot, Honda Passport, and Honda HR-V, and as low as 1.9% financing on all other 22 Hondas while supplies last. We can get the Honda you're looking for. We are taking deposits on current scheduled in-build 22 Hondas every day. See me, sales manager Jason High, for all the details. We're located Route 35, just east of 675 between Xenia and Beaver Creek. Germain Honda Beaver Creek, the right car, the right price, the right way. I hope to see you soon.
Give your home a fresh look and save 11% on everything. Pittsburgh Ultra Interior Flat Paint and Primer in One's high-quality acrylic latex formula provides a durable and washable finish. Right now, a gallon is only $9.97 after rebates. That's $10 off. Hurry in. This deal's only good through March 12th. Get 11% off everything at Menards. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy houses as is fast for cash. Call me today for an all-cash offer on any of your properties, and we can close within days at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. Do you own a property that's outdated and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, I'll buy it. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. Would it be convenient for you if you could simply take what you wanted and leave the rest behind? Great, I'll buy it. I buy all types of real estate completely as is. I buy vacant properties, inherited homes, divorce situations, death in the family, apartment buildings, rental portfolios. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. Call TurboTrack Realty today for an all-cash offer and speak with one of our friendly staff members at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000.
Cutting the price of your wireless bill feels good, really good. Actually, it feels great. You should try it out. So cut your bill by switching to Straight Talk Wireless. Now offering our $45 Silver Unlimited plan with 5 gigabytes of hotspot and nationwide 5G on America's largest, most dependable networks. The $45 Silver Unlimited plan from Straight Talk. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
A month equals 30 days. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com. 5G capable device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
O'Reilly Auto Parts has what you need to keep your engine performing at its best. Our professional parts people will help you select the right products for your vehicle and your budget. Like 5 quarts of Castrol GTX conventional oil and a MicroGuard filter, just $28.99. Save money on your next oil change. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
We're out of the brand name, but we do have the generic version of
Serene's Pharmacy can't keep up with allergy season.
Who's next in line?
They need certified technicians to alleviate the headache.
Ma'am, I'm so sorry for the wait. We'll have your prescription filled soon. I need some help.
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Tip off to frickin' madness. When we say tip off, not only are we talking about every college basketball game available, but our new barbecue rib tips only at Frickers. Delicious bite-sized barbecue rib tips with your choice of dipping sauce. Every game played to the march to the national championship and domestic draft personal pictures for only $6.50. Tip that personal picture. Tip off to the national championship of college basketball and frickin' barbecue rib tips at the home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Frickers.
Ray Magliozzi here. eBay Motors has the right parts at the right prices. 122 million of them. And if there's one thing I love, it's great parts and great prices. eBay Motors, let's ride.
Hey, everybody, it's Stephen A. Smith, and everyone knows my feelings on Cowboys fans. But really, Justin Kenner, you're a Cowboys fan and a Browns fan? Good Lord have mercy. I don't know what the hell to do with y'all. I really don't.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Justin Kinner, Kev Nash back with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Dayton's Zone and ESPN's Mark Adams. He will join us coming up, let's see, about an hour from now, 5 o'clock, top of the hour. He will hop on with us. In fact, he's out here. Him and Bob Rashusin will be on the call on ESPN tonight for Wright State, Northern Kentucky, from Indiana Farmers Coliseum. In fact, that's where I am doing the show from here today. Kev is holding down the fort back in the WING studios. Poor Kev, he thought, Kinner's going to be in Indianapolis. That means I'm off today, right? Actually, I kind of need you to hold down the fort back in the studio.
Nah, man.
Ton
to talk about today, man. So much NFL. Obviously, our beloved Wright State Raiders in the Horizon League championship game tonight, as I predicted. And I also predicted last week that we will win the Horizon League championship and punch our ticket to March Madness. Book it.
Yeah, I mean, that Cleveland State team that they played, so they beat the 1 seed last night. And I laughed because everyone's like, oh, man, they pulled off the upset. Well, when you're the 4 seed, you beat the 1 seed. I guess, yeah, technically, but Wright State was a half game away from winning the regular season title outright. So I don't know how much of it, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how much of an upset it was, but to lose both games during the regular season against Cleveland State. The last time they played, that Grant Basile had like 27 points, 11 rebounds last night. The last time Wright State played, they lost like 71-67. They lost by 4. You saw what they did last night when Grant Basile went off for 27 and 11. He had 5 points against Cleveland State the last time they played, and they lost by 4. You know what? They had 26 turnovers. They turned the ball over 26 times. Grant Basile had 5 total freaking points. And he had 6 points in the first 4 minutes of the game last night. So you saw a difference maker that he was. And they have the work cut out for him. They didn't beat Cleveland State in the regular season. They won last night. They didn't beat Northern Kentucky in the regular season. That win tonight puts them back in the NCAA tournament. So we'll talk about that with Mark Adams coming up here an hour from now. Excited to chat with him coming up around the corner. So Ron Howard, Kev, his take on Aaron Rodgers, the Aaron Rodgers deal. He goes, he's proved that he chokes in the playoff. He's a good regular season quarterback. I think that's a fair assessment. I think that statistically he'll go down as one of the best of all time. We know what the eye test is. I mean, Aaron Rodgers looks the part. He makes throws that no other quarterback in the NFL can make, or very few can or have. He'll go down as one of the best ever. I don't think that's up for debate. But I think that Aaron Rodgers accepts that big old that cup of change that they threw his way, and they'll win 9 to 10 games. They'll be considered Super Bowl favorites, but overall, you saw the teams that were most aggressive have been rewarded for it in recent years. The Buccaneers, they were aggressive. They go get Tom Brady. They had Gronk. They had Antonio Brown. They go get Ndamukong Suh. They win the Super Bowl. You look at the Rams. They had Odell Beckham Jr. They had Von Miller. They go out and get obviously Matthew Stafford. They were aggressive. They get rewarded for it. They won a Super Bowl. Will that trend continue? The Broncos so far have been the most aggressive team in the early going of the offseason. We've not even got to the to free agency yet. But the Broncos right now, it's going to be tough to top what the Broncos have just done, mainly because of the box office deal that they just made acquiring Russell Wilson. So we'll see. Will the Broncos continue that trend, Kev, of the most aggressive team in the offseason, building a Super Bowl roster has been rewarded? Will that reward continue for the Broncos?
Yeah, man, you're right. They are super aggressive. And today is tag day. And that's so crazy, man. The NFL has marketed itself to a way that tag day is a thing that goes on all the sports talk shows. And then obviously we have the tampering period, the legal tampering period that starts on Sunday or Monday or something like that, where you're allowed to tamper with teams and players and basically locking in contracts before actual free agency. So it'll be very interesting to see how much money that the Broncos have left after getting Russell and seeing what other parts that they can fill in those gaps with, because obviously letting their stud tight end go, they're going to need a replacement for that. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how many dollars they have to fix the necessary holes that they have.
All right, hour number 1 in the books. We're going to take a 3-minute breather. 518-1410. Calvin Ridley. Well, he made a little bet. He made 2 bets. Actually, he made 3 bets. And as he said, he only placed those 3 bets combined were for $1,500. He didn't think he did anything that wrong, but the NFL, They disagreed. They suspended him for an entire season. And my favorite part of social media is just the split reaction to any major events like this. So Calvin Ridley had placed multiple, or at least up to 3 multi-team parlay bets, spent about $1,500 total on those. He did it while he was away from the team. Somehow the league got attention of this. They've investigated it. That's as far as to the extent of which that they know, he bet on the team to win. Super. Now he's suspended for an entire year, and everyone's split down the middle on, was that too much? Was that not enough? Should it have been more? Should he be kicked out of the league completely? Should he have just been hit with a couple game suspension like those who have been, punished for domestic violence and some of these other things? We're going to get to all of that. 518-1410, Calvin Ridley, was he treated fairly? Was the punishment fair, unfair, too much, too harsh? Calvin Ridley, what about? We'll talk about that next.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Hey, Ray Magliozzi here. I'd like to carry more parts at my shop, but I just don't have the room. Every time I go in the back to get wiper blades, I trip over a dusty crate of Honda air filters, then bang my head on some GTO radiator hoses. eBay Motors never has that problem. They stock all the right parts at the right prices. 122 million of them, with everything from new headlights to vintage gear shifters. I can't imagine being able to stock 122 million parts. I mean, where would I get all those shelves? eBay Motors. Let's ride.
It can be dangerously easy to steal your identity during tax season because so much sensitive info is all together.
Before we start the annual meeting of Sean's personal info, has anyone seen Social Security number? Not me. Nope.
Nuh-uh.
Oh, no. He's been stolen.
LifeLock by Norton makes it easy to help protect yourself. If you become a victim, we'll work to fix it. No one can monitor all transactions, but you can save up to 25% off your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Identity theft protection starts here.
Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street are huge supporters of the Dayton Flyers. Whether you're one of the 13,000 fans cheering on the Flyers at UD Arena or one of the hundreds of fans packed inside Tim's on game day, there is only 2 places that you can feel the passion of the Flyer faithful more than anywhere else. Timothy's Bar and Grill is also a sponsor of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash in the afternoons and the Talking Out Loud Hour on Thursday nights with Sully. Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street. Go Flyers.
If you need new roofing, siding, or gutters, skylights, or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding in Fairborn has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Lance Roofing and Siding, 8460 Dayton Springfield Road in Fairborn. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722 or online at lanceroofing.com.
Hey, here to tell you about my friends at Cordell Transportation. They're now hiring Class A CDL drivers and offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily, dedicated lanes, and no-touch freight. Brand new equipment as well. Medical, dental, vision, and company-paid life insurance. Call Cody right now. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Want to find out what handheld perfection tastes like? Just stop by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken today for a flawless family feast with the 12-piece strips meal at a great price. Get 12 premium tenderloins that are freshly marinated, honey-dipped, hand-breaded, and cooked to crispy perfection, along with 3 large sides, 6 fluffy biscuits, and 4 of your favorite Lee sauces. This is dippable chicken done right. Get the best in boneless chicken with the 12-piece strips meal at a great price. Only at Lee's, famous for chicken.
When it comes to your credit card, Discover believes in having real people available 24/7 to help answer your questions. Discover, exceptionally common sense.
You want more local content from Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM? Make sure you subscribe to the WING 1410 Dayton YouTube channel, where you can watch all your local shows live or go back and rewatch previous episodes of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, the Keith Byers Show, Talking Out Loud with Sully, and more. College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Byers Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio. WING 1410 Dayton, Dayton's ESPN Radio.
Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, back with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Kevin, the WING studios are back in Kettering. I'm in Indianapolis at Indiana Farmers Coliseum. Tonight's host site for, of course, the Horizon League Championship game. Wright State looking to punch their ticket back to the NCAA Tournament for the first time since 2018. They'll go up against the league rival Northern Kentucky. In fact, that rivalry, that organic rivalry that is kind of just naturally built where, I mean, both arena, whether it's BB&T Arena, obviously, at Northern Kentucky, and then, of course, the Netter Center for Wright State. Those two teams fill one another's arenas. I'm expecting a large crowd for tonight's championship matchup. It's the second time these two teams have met in the championship game. Northern Kentucky won the last one back in 19. Wright State's played in the title game in 3 of the last 5 years. Northern Kentucky has never lost a Horizon League championship game. They've been to 3 NCAA tournaments as well. So tonight's an exciting opportunity for Wright State. Keep in mind, the other thing, Kev, with Wright State and Dayton, they have never both made the NCAA tournament the same year before. Obviously, we're going to spend more time talking about the A-10 tournament coming up later on in the week with the Dayton Flyers. Of course, they'll be back in action as they finish as the 2 seed. I keep seeing everyone say, "Man, this team, they're going to shock some people and go on some deep runs." I saw Sully correct a few people on Twitter saying, "I don't know how you could say that if the 2 seed makes a run in the A-10 tournament, how that's how that's shocking people. Like, it's shocking if the 2 seed doesn't at least get to the semifinals, like at the end of the day." So we'll see what happens there. Fortunate to live in a city that is as passionate about college basketball as the city of Dayton, of course, and Wright State could be the first to punch their ticket to the tournament coming up later on tonight. But yeah, Dayton and Wright State, Kev, have never both punched their ticket to the tournament in the same year. I spoke with ESPN's Joe Lunardi earlier on today, just talking to him about Wright State. Of course, he has had the Horizon League auto qualifier as a 16 seed, and he put Cleveland State in the 16 seed as a 16 seed in the first 4 over his last couple bracketology updates. So I asked him, with Wright State knocking them off, or whoever comes out of the Horizon League, what's the ceiling as far as the seed's concerned? He doesn't believe they're going to be any higher than 16, which means most likely if Wright State gets the nod, or even Northern Kentucky's an hour from Dayton. I think either the winner of tonight could most likely play in that first 4 coming up a week from tonight. So how crazy would that be for Wright State to have a chance to get their first NCAA tournament win? They got to get through NKU first. Right. Looking way ahead. But to do that at UD Arena, how cool would that be?
Oh, my goodness, man. That would be epic. And obviously, as Wright State grads, we want our school to make it to the tournament first and foremost. But to win the Horizon League title and punch their ticket and then be playing in the first 4 on UD's home floor and everything like that. I mean, to be able to go to the game, to root on our team, and then actually have a chance to win, because we can be real about the situation, man. If they were to go up against, say they're 16 and Duke's the 1 seed, probably going to lose to Duke. But there's no shame in losing to Duke. Better teams than us have lost to Duke program this year and many before. But to actually go up against another 16 seed, so you're playing a 16 seed, your chances increase of getting a win. So at first, I was saying, no, I want us to go ahead and get into the quote-unquote real part of the tournament. But an opportunity to see them at UD Arena and for them to have an opportunity to get a win, their chances increase tenfold. I'm with it, man. I hope, obviously, we win tonight, and I hope we're in the first 4.
Don't call it the real part of the tournament.
I use quotation marks.
The first 4 is the NCAA tournament.
Quotation marks.
It is. So I've always had this debate with people, too, because I understand where people are coming from. I wish that the NCAA would not brand this separately from the tournament, like the first 4, to get to the main bracket. In fact, it is strange that when you do, like, for instance, when we reveal our bracket madness coming up tomorrow, when people register for that, like, let's say you have until Thursday of next week to get your picks in, not Tuesday. I have a problem with that. The NCAA tournament tips off on Tuesday, I'm sorry. So the fact that you haven't, and this isn't just ours, this is all bracket challenges out there. You have until Thursday to get all your picks submitted, and that drives me crazy. That would be like if you have a pool at work for like the NFL playoffs or NBA or MLB or whatever, and you don't have to include the wild card round. That's ridiculous. The first four is the NCAA tournament. So that annoys the hell out of me. I've always viewed it that way, as that's the NCAA tournament. We get mad. Why do you have to play your way into it? Well, why does the NBA have a wild card round? They have a play-in tournament now. In fact, they actually call it a play-in tournament. The NCAA went away from calling it the play-in tournament because it had a negative connotation, like, oh, you got to win that to get into the field. Well, I guess that's technically what it is, but that's what every wild card round of a playoff or tournament is. The NFL wild card weekend, when the Bengals beat the Raiders in the wild card. So were the Bengals. So let me ask you, the Bengals got a win over the Raiders in the wild card round. Kev, does that not count at first? So did the Bengals only get 2 playoff wins this year because one of those wins was in a wild card round, which is in essence the first 4 or the play-in for the NBA or the one card or the one game annoying wild card game for Major League Baseball. Oh, you have to win those to get into the playoff. Well, that doesn't make any sense. To me, it's all the playoff. It counts. The first 4 counts.
I agree.
Wright State, NKU, whoever wins this tonight, and they get a win at the first 4 next week, that's an NCAA tournament win. Shame on you, Kev.
For sure. It's definitely an NCAA win, but I will correct you on one thing. There is no baseball.
Oh, that's true. Oh, wait. Has there been an update on that, by the way?
No, there's not. But the last thing I saw, if they don't come to an agreement today, they're going to cancel more games.
Oh, that's a given.
Yeah.
That's a given. So I found this interesting, though. So, Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty, by the way, shout out to Mr. Mays, a sponsor of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. He shot me a note earlier about this latest, the breaking news, of course, of Major League Baseball has a new TV partner, and it's Apple. It says at the company's event today, it announced a deal with the league to carry a Friday night baseball doubleheader on Apple TV starting this season. Games will be exclusively broadcast on on that streaming service. Now we're starting to see, like, Kirk Herbstreit apparently is with Amazon now.
Yes,
he's not leaving ESPN. He will still do his college football, game day and all that fun stuff. But on Thursday nights, he is now working for, of course, doing the Thursday night football games, of course, for Amazon. So you're starting to see some of these outside industries kind of get involved. Apple's one of the latest with Major League Baseball. But so Brad said, well, why would they announce that unless they're close to announcing that the season's going to come back? That's a good question. We're supposed to find out at any time now if that's the case. But I wouldn't hold my breath. I don't think baseball is coming back for a while. I like I said, I'll be very surprised. I'm getting married on May 14th. I will be very surprised if the Reds or any team in baseball have played a game before my wedding on May 14th.
Opening day on your wedding day. How about that? Y'all pull out the big screens and watch the Reds play as you get married.
Now, my brother, he was so mad at me at first because we were going to get married in the fall.
No,
and he was furious at me because of Ohio State on Saturday and all that stuff. So we didn't make that decision because of Ohio State football. We made it because at the time, I'm not going to throw this expensive ass party
and nobody shows
and
up.
Have people have to wear a mask and tell people to be 6 feet apart and have limited capacity. I was like, no. I want a super spreader. I want a super. If I'm going to pay this much for a wedding, I want a super spreader event. I want people complaining about how many people are at this party, this super expensive party that we declare our love for one another coming up here in a few months.
I do have a problem with people that get married in the fall. Like, don't do that. Don't do that to people. If you're going to get married in the fall, get married on a Friday. Don't get married on a Saturday when the Buckeyes are on. Don't get married on a Sunday when your favorite NFL team is on. Matter of fact, don't get married in the fall at all. You got a whole 3 other seasons to get married. Don't get married in the fall.
At this point, just happy to be getting married at all. So it's been a 1.5-year engagement, and she hasn't decided to run the opposite direction yet. Still have 2 months to get to the finish line, but so far we're running in the same direction, so that is a good thing. But by the way, if you're just tuning in, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. We're live on 1410 Wing AM. We're live on Facebook. Search the Justin Kinner Show, like the show page, follow along, and then of course on ESPN Dayton's YouTube channel. So I do want to make sure before we move on from the college basketball part for at least a brief moment, Deron Holmes, Kev, he had himself a day. A10 awards came out. Deron Holmes, all-conference second team, okay, the all-defensive team, all-rookie team, and rookie of the year. I'd say Deron Holmes had himself a day.
We call that balling.
So let me ask you this. This happened over the weekend, and, of course, I got accused of just stirring the pot, if you will. Deron Holmes on his social media channels, now we've seen this trend in the NFL right now. Kyler Murray threw a temper tantrum and scrubbed his social media, if you will, of anything related to the Cardinals. He's done throwing his tantrum because today apparently he added all the pictures back and he added the Cardinals quarterback back to it. So good for him. Russell Wilson did the same thing. Coincidentally enough, he got traded today. And a lot of players do this. People, they think I'm going to have a problem with it. I don't have any issue with it. That's how everyone communicates nowadays, even in passive aggressive forms, just through social media. Deron Holmes, he took all the UD references out of his social media stuff, Kev. It just says, and it has a bunch of planes and stuff. But let me make sure I'm pulling this up correctly before I do this, because for one, I do not think he's going anywhere, but it did catch my attention. I think it caught a lot of people's attention. So let me make sure because I put it on the Facebook page, head to Facebook, search the Justin Kinner Show, shared it over the weekend. A lot of people had an opinion on it, like, oh, he's not going anywhere. But it may not be something. It may not be like something big, but it has to be something, right? Like, you don't just do this for no reason. It says on the move. This is his Twitter account, Kev. Mm-hmm. It says on the move, and it has some airplanes after it.
Right.
What do you think that means?
I would have a better context of this if I followed him before. Like, if everything was on there, UD Flyer this, UD Flyer that, 937, jerseys, former players. Like, it depends on like what his social media is all about, because there are some people out there, famous athletes or just famous people in general, who kind of treat their social media like they're a regular person, so to speak, that they're not a famous person, where they're not pubbing their brands and everything like that. So that would be my first question. Obviously, I mean, we don't have the screenshots of how social media used to look. From the outside looking in, I would get alarmed if I was a UD fan like that. I'd be like, well, what's that all about? Like, you used to have your jersey number up there and Flyer for life or whatever hashtag you're using or whatever, and you scrubbed your social media account. Like, that does spark questions from a fan base.
Now, to be fair, he did not scrub it in regards to, like, he has all his pictures in his UD, like, it's all UD picture wise. But that little bio, that's an important piece there. That's how you communicate with other teams. That's how you communicate with fans. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's something there. I don't think it's anything major. I would be very surprised if he did transfer out. I think the best shot would be him potentially testing the NBA waters. Like, just right. I think the kid would be silly not to test the NBA waters. Obi Toppin did it after his first year, a full year playing with Dayton. He went to the, he declared for the NBA draft. By the way, they got to change that. I'm so tired of hearing that players are declaring for the NBA draft. You're not declaring for the draft. You're just going to go through the combine, if you will, or the evaluation process. But I think all players are silly not to go through that evaluation process. I think Deron Holmes should definitely do it. Tanner Holden for Wright State. Heard from Loud and Love the other day that he's urging Tanner Holden to go through that process, because Tanner Holden is a very undervalued, player that doesn't get any attention, enough attention as he should. But I think that all these players who are fringe guys or, are, heading in that trajectory should definitely go test the water. I think he will do that at the end of the year. I'll be very surprised if he is playing anywhere else other than Dayton next year, unless he gets a great evaluation by the league. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think you do yourself a disservice not getting evaluated. I mean, that's why the evaluation is there. Like, take it and use it to your advantage and figure out what you need to work on your own personal game. And then that only makes you a better player for your team and potentially your future. So I definitely encourage that. I mean, doesn't the NBA Combine go down in Chicago?
I believe so. I don't know if it's a different spot every year, but I believe it's Chicago. Things have been weird the last 2 years because of COVID and everything, so I don't know what the standard is. And that's a relatively new rule. I think that was initiated back in 19, right before the COVID season. I think they've only had one. I think it was Obi's year that when Obi Toppin went and did the evaluation, that was the first time that they had made that a thing where you could declare. Remember, you used to not be able to declare for the NBA. If you declared for the NBA, I think you couldn't have an agent or whatever. But this was, you can leave your team, declare for the draft, go get that evaluation, get that report, tell you where you are projected to fall draft wise, and then players can go back. That benefited Obi big time. Remember, Obi was a big time dunker, slasher to the bucket. Did not have a shot, did not have a jump shot, did not really have a 3-point shot. He got that evaluation. They told him to work on X, Y, and Z. he took those X, Y, and Z, and it was X squared, Y squared, Z squared. He like doubled it, tripled it, quadrupled it, and became National Player of the Year. So that's an example right there. That's a feel-good story of a kid that went to that evaluation. Hey, I don't know if I have a very good chance to be drafted this year, but I know I'm close. Where am I as far as evaluation is concerned? And he took off. So I'm big on that. I think that that's where Deron Holmes is going. And let me apologize. I did not mean to bring up him. I did not mean to give him the attention for all the awards he just won today and then try to water it down with the social media thing. Probably shouldn't have put that back to back talking about that. Deron Holmes, that's a special kid. Very, very special talent that Dayton got, and definitely pulling for him. I'm pulling for the I hope UD makes the tournament. We'll find out later on tonight if Wright State makes the tournament, as they have Northern Kentucky in the title game. Ann Anderson, Kev, she says, I agree about the getting married in the fall thing. She says her husband and her got married 50 years ago on a Friday night in Colorado in the middle of college football season. Andy could have cared less. Me, on the other hand, watched all the football games and enjoyed our Saturday, sort of.
Ann is the best.
So there you go. And she said, we're still married. So there's that. Some guy on Facebook says on Instagram, either earlier today or last night, Deron posted a picture of Obi. He's clearly following Obi's path to the NBA's all. Yeah, I agree. That's why I said my mistake today was announcing the all-conference awards that he got and then followed it up with that. I should not have put those back to back because I wasn't trying to insinuate anything. But I think that's what it is. And Obi, that's why that Obi season was so key, Kev, is because now players who are like Deron Holmes, they could see a path to the NBA. Mm-hmm. Do you see a path if you go play at St. Louis? Not that you can't get to the NBA from those other A10 teams, but to see a recent success story of not just being a good A10 team, but being number 3 in the country. If there was a tournament that year, they would have been one of the number 1 seeds. And then Obi goes on to be a lottery pick, goes number 8 overall to the Knicks. So yes, that type of stuff that rolls down, that's a great example right there. So Deron Holmes, I agree with some guy. I wish you had a regular name. It's so hard to give you credit when your name is some guy, but you do make very good points. I'll give you that. Ron Howard says Ridley is so dumb, not only to make bets in your own name, but bet the Falcons to win. Well, Ron, you make a good point. I think the dumbest thing Ridley did was bet using his real name, I guess, but nonetheless. Oh, yeah. Weren't we supposed to talk about Calvin Ridley?
Yeah.
You want to talk about Calvin Ridley, Kev?
Sure.
Can I guess what you're going to say? Do you think that the NFL was too harsh with the punishment?
I do.
Jesus. All right, we'll be back. 518-1410. Don't go anywhere.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be mostly cloudy, a high near 43. Tonight's going to be mostly cloudy with a chance of snow, a low near 35. And tomorrow's going to be mostly cloudy, a high near 48. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather brought to you by Cullet Propane, keeping utilities simple and families warm since 1952. See how and more at culletpropane.com.
Look at this. JD Power awarded Cricket #1 customer service and purchase experience in the MVNO segment.
Huh. Award-winning service has a nice ring to it. Say it again.
Award-winning service.
Again.
Hear ye, hear ye. Announcing 2 more reasons to switch to Cricket and their award-winning service.
Wow, it does have a nice ring to it. Switch and see for yourself.
For JD Power 2022 wireless customer care and purchase experience mobile network operator performance studies award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Nothing protects your engine better than AMSOIL lubricants. Get ready for winter. Protect your investment. AMSOIL, the first in synthetic since 1972. Come out to Homestead Feed and Supply, 1833 North, Dayton Lakeview Road. Tell them the Colonel sent you.
Germain Honda Beaver Creek is your local Honda dealer. For a limited time, get 0.9% financing on the 22 Honda Pilot, Honda Passport, and Honda HRV, and as low as 1.9% financing on all other 22 Hondas while supplies last. We can get the Honda you're looking for. We are taking deposits on current scheduled in-build 22 Hondas every day. See me, sales manager Jason High, for all the details. We're located Route 35, just east of 675 between Xenia and Beaver Creek. Germain Honda Beaver Creek, the right car, the right price, the right way. I hope to see you soon.
Hi, I'm Emmitt Smith, Pro Football Hall of Famer and three-time champion.
Pro Football's all-time leading rusher Emmitt Smith talks about joint pain.
Trust me, I know about joint pain. Sure, I made it look easy, but if my body could speak, it would say, I'm in pain.
Are you living with chronic joint pain? Knees, hips, lower back, shoulders? Don't just assume the old treatments are the only treatments.
I've gone under the knife to get rid of pain, but now there are options, and you need to check them out.
Emmitt's talking about QC Kinetics, exciting new natural biologic therapies that can repair and restore damaged tissue in your joints. New options now available here.
You can encourage your body to actually heal itself with the help of QC Kinetics.
Real relief with no surgery, no drugs, no downtime. Call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics for regenerative restorative treatments with lasting relief.
But now, you and I, we have help. QC Kinetics.
Call QC Kinetics, 937-936-0325. That's 937-936-0325. QC Kinetics, 936-0325.
Don't put it off any longer. You know it's time. Time for a bathroom upgrade by Bath Creations. Bath Creations is a leader in bathroom renovations, providing the very best value in bath and shower remodeling, and proudly made in the USA. With Bath Creations, you get a beautiful modern bathroom that's safe, comfortable, and affordable. Attention first responders, veterans, and active military. Save $500 off your purchase right now. Visit Poe Avenue in Dayton or online at mybathcreations.com. And upgrade today.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/find. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/find. That's ZipRecruiter.com/find. ZipRecruiter.com/find.
Everybody knows that Roosters is a fun, casual joint with their award-winning waitstaff, great food, fun, and laughter. It's a quick stop on the way home to sit back and unwind. It's a front row seat to the big game. Roosters is where you, your family, and friends can order pizzas, sandwiches, salads, and more. And the home of award-winning wings that are fresh, never frozen, and so big you won't believe it. It's your family's other dinner table. Roosters, a fun, casual joint, and proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
What's done more to improve overall health and wellness, modern medicine or personal hygiene? Actually, it's both. But considering that bathing went mainstream in the 1800s and brushing your teeth in the 1900s, isn't it time for something new, like cleaning your nose? After all, your nose is the body's air filter for trapping dirt and germs, the first line of defense against allergens, bacteria, and viruses from getting into your lungs. But how do you clean your nose? With Navage. Navage isn't medicine, it's more like plumbing. Navage uses powered suction to pull saline in one nostril to the very back of the nose where germs can get trapped and multiply, and then out the other nostril, flushing out mucus and microbes so you can breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier. Join over 2 million others and find out for yourself how refreshing and easy to use Navage is. At Navage.com, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, and Target. Navage. Clean nose, healthy life.
The #1 pick is in. Wendy's Breakfast, the official breakfast of March Madness, featuring a stacked starting lineup, breakfast Baconator or honey butter chicken biscuit, and simply orange juice.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER and ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash is presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty and, of course, Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street. We welcome you back. I'm Justin Kinner. Kev Nash back in the WING studios. I'm here in Indianapolis for the Horizon League Championship game tonight. Wright State, Northern Kentucky. Wright State looking to get back to the NCAA Tournament for the first time since 2018. So, this Calvin Ridley situation yesterday, I was off yesterday. And all of a sudden, I see all of a sudden that breaking news: Calvin Ridley is suspended. I was like, Calvin Ridley, what the heck did he do? By the way, bad couple days for the Browns. Real quick, just a little subtopic here. The Browns, we knew were going to try and be aggressive in free agency, or at least when it comes to trying to upgrade their pass catcher situation. And Calvin Ridley, a lot of reports that started to break over the last couple of days that Calvin Ridley was going to be one of the main targets that the Browns targeted. And can you imagine? Kev, I mean, I'm telling you, it would have been typical Cleveland Browns luck if the Browns were able to strike a deal for Calvin Ridley, and then the news came out. Actually, you know what? I think this is a sign that good luck is in favor of the Browns now, because typical Browns luck would have been to trade for Calvin Ridley, and then the news come out, and then he's suspended for the year, maybe more. It would have been like
if that would have happened, if the league would have allowed that trade to happen, that would have been foul on the league's part, because obviously they were the ones doing the investigation, so they have more knowledge about it than anybody else. So if they would have allowed the Falcons and the Browns to do a trade and approved it, that would have been totally foul on the league's part. So I would hope that the league would veto the trade and be like, nah, can't do it. And then the information would have came out or something like that, because there's no way you can allow a team to trade for a player that you're about to suspend and them not know about it, or at least told the Browns, like, look, y'all can make the trade. Just a heads up, we're about to suspend him for a year. Like, you got to do something. You can't allow that to go on.
You ever had that buddy that is about to, start dating a girl? They're like, 'cause she has baggage, dude. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. And then something bad happens. You're like, well, I told you.
Got to give them a heads up.
But no, so we knew the Browns were going to be great. They were going to target Calvin Ridley. There's a Mike Williams. Mike Williams actually just apparently got an extension, if I'm not correct, with the Chargers. If I'm not mistaken, with the Chargers, I think it's like a $60 million deal. The Browns would have been okay with that. I think they'd be fine. I think they're going to get a level player like that. Amari Cooper still keeps getting brought up, of course, after the Cowboys released him. But the Browns, obviously wanting to upgrade at quarterback, wanting to get some, pass catchers, of course, and they're out on Calvin Ridley now. Obviously, no more Mike Williams. Russell Wilson ending up with the Broncos now. By the way, the Titans, that was the team I meant to say earlier. The Titans are a team that if you were able to find a way to put Russell Wilson with the Derrick Henry and, A.J. Brown, Julio Jones type deal, look out. The Titans would have been the class of the AFC, that's for sure. But anyways, let's get back to this Calvin Ridley thing. So yesterday I see the breaking news: Calvin Ridley suspended for the rest of the season because he made a couple multi-team parlay bets, regardless of the kind of bet. He placed a couple sports bets. Now, athletes can go to a casino. They can play the slots. They could do whatever they want at a casino. What you can't do is you can't play sports bets. And my big thing on this is I'm amazed. Albert Breer, not big fan of his just because of this tweet, but a big fan of Albert Breer's, met him a few years ago at a conference I was in New York. Keep in touch with him regularly. He made a good point about this that I'm on his side about. He tweeted out that I see people painting Calvin Ridley as the victim here. And I mean, come on, we all understand why a sports league can't allow its players to bet on its games, right? And why it has to come down to a player, and why it has to come down on a player. If it does happen, I swear it's not that complicated. Albert Breer tweeted this out yesterday, and I was like, he's right. At the end of the day, I know we like to get into this, the NFL's so hypocritical. But the NFL's not hypocritical, and here's why. Because not everything is made to be even. Like, for instance, what is good for the league isn't always good for the players, and what is good for the players isn't always good for the league. What is good for the fans sometimes isn't always good for the players. What is good for the fans sometimes isn't always good for the owners. There is no such thing as a solution to appease everybody. The fans, like look at Major League Baseball right now. The owners and the players have basically said, we do a lot for the fans, but no offense, fans, we love you, but you don't matter here. We have to take care of us first, because the players are saying what's best for us may not be best for the fans. It may not be best for ownership, but it's what's best for us. And at a certain point, you got to look out for you, right? The owners are doing the same for them, and the fans are on the outside looking in. Now look at the NFL in a very similar situation here. Their partnership with these sports betting entities on the outside, it looks hypocritical, right? Like the athletes, you're not allowed to place bets on sports, but the NFL could be, sponsored by DraftKings and FanDuel, and basically look at all the sports betting shows that there are. I mean, look at the fantasy football of that. The NFL is making so much money off of that. Well, when people say, well, they're hypocrites. How can the players not be able to partake in that when the league is making bank off of that? Let's not act like the players are not making bank off of that as well. Let's not act like the sports betting entity, the world that is now sports betting and the crossover with the NFL and pro sports in general. Let's not act like the pool of money that is just being flooded into these professional sports leagues because of it is not somehow in the back end ending up in the players' pockets to begin with. Because there's a reason that Aaron Rodgers is able to get a 4-year, $200 million contract, that $153 million of it is guaranteed, and it's because of how well the NFL does business-wise. So my point is, what's good for business is sometimes not always good for the players. What's good for the players is sometimes not always good for the NFL. If you want an NBA example, what's good for the players sometimes isn't good for the league. Well, the players say we need rest. I'm not going to play on stars are saying I'm not going to play on back-to-backs. Okay. Well, that's what's best for the player, because the player has to look out for him, right? Or she has to look out for her. He has to look out for him. The athletes have to look out for themselves. Sometimes that's not always good for the league. If I have to sit out on a back-to-back, that's not good for the league, because I'm a star and I need to be there for the fans. So what's best for me isn't always what's best for the league, not always best for the fans, but I got to look out for me. That's just how this works. That's how it's always worked. So I have no problem. I don't understand why people are so angry at the NFL, calling them hypocrites. Same thing with Major League Baseball with the Pete Rose situation, because I don't think they're anywhere close to being the same. People say, well, Pete Rose is out of baseball because of gambling. Pete Rose got kicked out of baseball because of gambling. Pete Rose is still not in baseball today because of his antics off the field. There are so many stories of every time the league had come close to possibly considering getting Pete Rose back into baseball, or reinstating him, if you will, he would do and say a lot of strange things that would rub people the wrong way. Even Hal McCoy will tell you he was his own worst enemy. So there's that. It's not completely the same thing. So let's put this in retrospect to Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley places this bet. He admits that he was wrong. Of course, he made some weird tweet about, I made a mistake. I owned it, but they only gave me 1 year. LOL. Like, you don't come across looking good there. Like, you're mocking the league as if that's all I got was 1 year, so be it. But you got 1 year over $1,500. He bet $1,500 over 3 multi-team parlays. So you are going to lose an entire year unpaid for $1,500. Like, if you were going to get caught, man, you better have lost an amount of money that we actually thought you had a gambling problem, because $1,500 to lose an entire season's paycheck is just beyond me. Now the league comes out and they suspend Calvin Ridley for an entire year. I have no problem with that punishment. I think that Calvin Ridley is not an isolated situation that the league is looking at saying, well, he's a first-time offender. He's never got caught before. We can go loose on him a little bit. No, they say, you know what? We're going to make an example out of you, because he's not the first player to do this, or at least that I'm aware of, but he's also not going to be the last. And I think that the league is trying to set the tone of, hey, if you get caught, Calvin Ridley's a star in the National Football League. That's a big name that they have just eliminated for an entire year over being caught betting on sports, bet on his team to win, technically was away from the team, wasn't even actively playing at the time. They made an example out of him. I have no problem with that. Like Albert Breer said, it's really, to me, it's not complicated to understand why a league would not want its athletes actively placing sports bets while being an active player, how that can potentially set up a lot of negative views as far as, the competitive nature of these sporting events. So I don't think that the NFL was unfair at all. Here's where I also don't like what people are doing is, they're trying to bring up the domestic violence suspensions and saying, so the league, they care more about the sports betting side of violations than they do about domestic violence. I think two things could be true at the same time. I think that you could argue that the league does need to come down harder on domestic domestic violence. That's not even up for debate. That I agree with that 1,000,000%. But just because that they have not figured out how to properly suspend or properly punish those who are involved in those off the field antics, it does not mean that they are wrong for punishing Calvin Ridley for a year. He's lucky that they didn't go beyond that, because of how much money is on the line. If this becomes a epidemic across the sports landscape of athletes betting on professional sports, and more starts coming out, and then the sports have to distance themselves from the sports gambling aspect, that's going to cost these leagues millions and millions and billions of dollars. So the fact that Calvin Ridley has been suspended for an entire season, I don't blame the league one bit, because the league is looking at him and sending a message to every other active athlete out there saying, you will not partake in this. We will not lose the ground that we've done. We've dug our heels into the ground and have really embraced this. We are not going to go back on this and lose billions of dollars because athletes can't control themselves. I don't find it hypocritical. Like I said earlier, what's best for the league isn't always what's best for the players. And if a player needs to sacrifice fantasy football or sports betting, parlay bets, all that fun stuff, so that they can make millions and millions and millions of dollars, I think that's a fair payoff. Kev, I know we're on opposite sides on this. What say you?
First of all, Calvin Ridley's a bonehead for doing this. He deserves a suspension. I'm just not sure if I'm sold on a whole year suspension. The reason I'm not sold on a whole year suspension has nothing to do with the league's policy on, domestic violence or physical abuse to children, where you only get 5 games or 6 games or anything like that. It has nothing to do with that. It just simply has to do with the simple fact that this investigation was quick. And when Brian Flores came with his claims about the integrity of the Miami Dolphins, the league initially came out and said, not true, moving on. No investigation at all. They were on to the next one. And then they released something like 2 days later, like, well, yeah, we're going to look into this. So that's where I have a problem with it. We talking because this is all really about the integrity of the game, which in turns means money for the game. So if you have a player that's done something boneheaded and definitely deserves a punishment, no doubt about it, let's make sure we bring that same energy and let's make sure we bring that same intensity of an investigation to what Brian Flores brought up about the Miami Dolphins and their integrity of the game and intentionally trying to lose games and things of that nature, because that affects gambling as well. So when you have a player doing something like this, let's make sure we are doing the exact same thing for upper management and ownership as well. So that's where I would see the line being blurred. Yeah, Calvin Ridley, you blew millions to gamble thousands. That's not a smart move. And I mean, it ain't like he didn't know that. Like, this type of stuff is drilled into their heads at the rookie symposiums and everything like that. So he knows this. He knows he shouldn't be doing this. Now, do I believe that players do a ton of gambling on the side, like motivational stuff, like amongst their peer group or, former players from their university and everything like that? Calvin Ridley, he went to Alabama, so I'm sure he's betting other Alabama receivers, like, I bet you I get more receiving yards than you. Like, all that's cool, but once you messing with these apps and everything like that, you got a track record that's going to your PayPal account or bank account and everything like that. That's not cool. And also, what's not cool for Calvin Ridley, yes, he was betting on his own team and everything like that, but you as a player of that team, you have basically inside information. You're on this team. You know what this guy does well, what that guy doesn't do so well, what matchup problems the other team presents at that time. So you have obviously an unfair advantage. So obviously you can go tell your best friend to place this bet. Like, hey, man, go place this bet. And you can get the money and y'all gonna do whatever. Or is this something that I was reading by, he was just, he took a break and everything like that, and he was bored, so he did it. Okay, fine, but it's still a bonehead move. My whole thing is Calvin Ridley deserves to be punished. Let's make sure the NFL is doing the investigation on the Miami Dolphins as well.
So, but I don't mean this to sound confrontational, but that's the other thing I'm hearing a lot of that irks me, because I don't know why every time there's an isolated incident, we have to bring other things into it. And it almost like and I know you're not, but it sounds like people are trying to justify Calvin Ridley's actions by saying, well, he's doing it. How is that any different than what the owners are doing with tanking? And so, and again, this is and I see people saying, well, how can you suspend someone 6 games for domestic violence, but an entire season for making a 3-team parlay bet? it's easy to word it that way, to position it, to make it sound like, first of all, everything, those are isolated situations. I think that the Brian Flores thing is not isolated as if it's not happening anywhere else, but that's an isolated situation that I can look at the league and say, yeah, you guys need to get on that, investigate that, and that not impact my opinion as far as what's going on with Calvin Ridley. Like, they're in the right for suspending him for a year. The other thing, too, the only reason that this happened as quick as it did is because I think it was pretty dang easy just to connect all the dots. I mean, he did use his phone. He did use his actual profile. He used his name. There really, when you say how quick the investigation was, there really was no they didn't need to really dig deep into that. I mean, it was just proof. I mean, it was all right there, as far as, so it made it a little bit easy. How long did the league have this information on Ridley? How long did it take from point A to point B to close out that investigation? I'm curious about that. But that's why I'm like, I have no problem with it, because they had that proof right there. And again, they're trying to avoid a bigger, more catastrophic issue when it comes to players, when it comes to sports gambling. I think he was used as a message to the league of, don't do it. I'm telling you. Oh, right now.
For sure. And as they should set an example. Like, that's why he's suspended for an entire year. This is an example. Like, hey, man, a guy could think like, man, I could lose a half a year of salary and it's not going to affect me like that. But you lose an entire year of salary, that's going to affect anybody out there in the world. My whole thing about the Miami Dolphins situation is the swiftness to say there's nothing to this. Like, that Brian Flores stuff came out, say at 2:00, the NFL released a statement at 2:30 and said there was nothing true about it. And then 24 hours after that, like, oh yeah, we're going to do an investigation. That's the type of stuff that people say, well, like, what's going on here? Like, how come at 30 minutes ago it was one thing and now it's another thing? In my opinion, the NFL should have just took their time in releasing the statement. It just seemed like they wanted to get out in front of the statement and protect the owners and everything like that, instead of doing what they're supposed to do, is investigate the owner, investigate a claim and get to the bottom of it, as opposed to making a statement about it beforehand. As far as Calvin Ridley is concerned, he did a bonehead thing, and now he's going to pay the penalty. And I can't say like, oh, man, no, it only should have been 2 games. It should have been 1 game because this domestic violence happened and everything like that. No, man, you can't do that. You just can't. You just can't do that. And furthermore, you can't be using your own profile pic with your picture on it and your name and everything like that.
Wearing the jersey, the helmet.
Yeah, like when people do stuff like that, it makes me think you were asleep in the meeting. When we get all these stuff, you sign up for a new social media, you just click yes, click yes, click yes. You're not reading anything that's on there. That's what that strikes me as. Like, he just signed off on whatever paperwork that was out there from his agent, didn't read it or wasn't paying attention and didn't know, because no way in his right mind should he have been doing that on his phone with his own profile and everything like that. So I don't gamble, so I don't know. I don't know if like these gambling sites are all hooked up to one, like FanDuel. Maybe he has a fantasy sports team and he just clicked on something else and is like, oh, maybe let me dabble in this. I don't know. That would have to be the only reason or rational reason around it, to say like, all right, I updated my fantasy roster for this week. Let me check out some parlay bets. Oh man, they think he only gonna get 5 catches. I know he's gonna get 5 catches because I know the game plan. Like, is it something like that? Because if he jumped out the window and just created a whole new profile and just started doing it off the rip, like that's somebody that wasn't paying attention. That's just not smart at all.
Yeah, and to go back to the Flores thing, if that investigation was opened and shut, then I'd be like, okay, they're either hiding something or what have you. But like, when you bring up that, well, they should have come up with a solution to this already. Well, there's probably not as much easy evidence coming out of that.
No. What I'm saying is the Flores lawsuit came out at 2:00. The NFL came at 2:30 and said nothing there. Well, how do you know there's nothing there? And then a day later, they said, well, we're going to get to the bottom of this. Why couldn't you just say, we're going to get to the bottom of this off the rip, as opposed to just jumping out the window to defend the ownership? Just say, we're going to get to the bottom of this. And if there's nothing there, there's nothing there. But if there's something there, there's something there. It's the constant backing of the owners all the time. It's the constant backing of upper management all the time, where we've seen countless times that owners make mistakes, management make mistakes. All you got to say is like, we'll get to the bottom of it. We'll do an investigation. Saying you're going to do an investigation doesn't mean like, oh man, we're going to come down with the hammer on them. say we're going to find out. And I don't understand the problem in that. I don't understand just saying, "Are we going to look into it?" as opposed to saying, basically, Brian Flores is lying, and then get some heat from everybody and say, you know what? On second thought, we are going to look into it instead of not looking into it at all.
Well, the only counter to that is, but like, what does that have to do with this though?
No.
Like,
It has a ton to do with it, because this is about the integrity of the game and money involved in the game. Because if owner is telling a coach, "I'm going to pay you extra money to lose games," and somebody says that's the integrity of the game and they're placing bets on the game, that's the exact same thing. Like if
but look at Seattle. Why do you think they got rid of Russell Wilson? To win games? Like, that's called, why are they getting rid of Russell Wilson, all their star players? So they can lose games to position themselves to get draft picks. Like, how that's the same thing. Just because we put cute little phrases on it like rebuilding or reloading or tanking, even the word tanking, I mean, but like, that's why I mean, like, just because we, I don't know. Like, okay, if the coach got paid, let's say Flores did get paid to lose games or was offered money to lose games, how is it any different than actually paying your coach to? I mean, if you take over a roster, for instance, I'll use the Reds example. Brian Price took over a roster that he knew he was going to be losing with. You were paid to lose games. Your job was we're going to get rid of all the veteran players. You're going to take over this very bad roster that could probably compete in the AAA level. And your job is to manage this team. We're basically paying you to lose games because, taking that job is we're supposed to lose to get draft picks. They can't play dumb to that and act like, oh, well, we're tanking. We're not losing on purpose. That doesn't make it. You are losing on purpose because you're trying to, like, the Seahawks are officially entering that lose on purpose, category now, because you don't get rid of Russell Wilson to try to go 8-8 or 8-9 or 9-8 and end up with the number 19 or 20 pick and never get a franchise quarterback again. So that's what I mean by that. Like, I just think people are making too big a deal of that unless there's actual proof of legitimate money being handed to you or offered to you to actually go and make decisions to lose games. But ultimately, that's what's being done by rebuilding head coaches all over.
Yeah, I just view it from a different aspect of, like, if what Brian Flores is saying is true, they're saying that, hey, I'm going to pay you X amount of dollars for every game that you lose. That is basically incentivizing somebody to make bad decisions, to say, like, hey, man, you know what? Instead of playing so-and-so at cornerback, we're going to roll Kevin Washington out there at cornerback, see if he can hold up against Calvin Ridley or whatever star receiver they got. No, like, those are like the incentive things, like the tear down of a roster and saying, like, all right, man, we're going to tear this thing down. We're going to get picks and we're going to rebuild. I think that's just like a part of sports. Telling your coach, hey, lose games, I think that messes with the integrity of the game just as much, if not more, than what Calvin Ridley did.
But why would you tell a coach to lose games?
I have no idea what they were doing. I have no idea, because one second they were trying to, quote unquote, draft picks, and then the next second they were trying to get Tom Brady. So I have no idea what the Miami Dolphins are doing.
Either lose games, get a higher draft pick. A top 10 pick is a lot more valuable than that number 19 pick if you're trying to trade for a Tom Brady or what have you. But it's all just that weird positioning. But yeah, like, either way, 518-1410. I know we have a couple people on hold. Go ahead and give Kev a call back in the studio. We'll take your calls on the other side. 518-1410. I'm curious people's thoughts on this. I'm not saying I'm okay with the going back to those Dolphins allegations of offering money to Flores to pay to lose games. But ultimately, I view any coach that takes over a rebuilding roster, you sign on the dotted line and you accept money to be the head coach of that team that is losing. There's nothing honest about the integrity of the game of a team. Like, for instance, like when the Browns were rebuilding and the Bengals are rebuilding, you are purposely losing on purpose. You are getting rid of all your best players to bring in bad players so that you could lose enough games to get the top draft picks. How is that any different than what Flores was accusing his ownership of doing, other than it just sounded more aggressive of, we're handing you a check to lose games? But like, that's not any different than, for instance, the Seahawks. Pete Carroll, heading into next season, is officially being paid to lose games. You don't get rid of Russell Wilson to try 9-8 to get the number 19 or number 20 pick in the draft and draft some project cornerback that you have to develop or whatever. I just believe that's the same thing. Pete Carroll, if he stays with the Seahawks, you got rid of Russell Wilson, you're being paid to lose ball games. In fact, if you come in and try to win 8 to 9 ball games and get us out of position to draft a top quarterback, you're not doing us any favors. That's the way I view it. 518-1410. We'll be back in a moment.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
At the Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission, we help veterans and their dependents navigate the process of applying for benefits administered by the VA. We can assist with VA claims, pensions, and a variety of benefits, including emergency financial assistance, transportation, and legal services. If you are a veteran or a spouse of a veteran, a wide range of services may be available to you, always at no cost to the veteran. We are honored and proud to serve all Miami Valley veterans. Contact us today at 937-225-4801.
I'm Terry Krupp of Laird's Tax and Accounting, serving this area's tax and accounting needs for over 80 years. One of the most rewarding aspects of our jobs as tax preparers is that we have families that have used our services for generations. Laird's Tax and Accounting is a pioneer in our industry, being the first to offer new services. We stand behind your return if the IRS has questions. We know the tax code and can make the difficult task of making your tax filing easier. Relax. Contact us at 937-325-6571. Information at lairdstax.com.
Hey, here to tell you about my friends at Cordell Transportation. They're now hiring Class A CDL drivers and offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily, dedicated lanes, and no-touch freight. Brand new equipment as well. Medical, dental, vision, and company-paid life insurance. Call Cody right now. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
When your roommate borrows your car every day, it might be a blind spot. Even having people over to jump around on your trampoline. Yep, it also might be a blind spot. Blind spots are all the surprising things that might need more coverage that you weren't aware of. Good thing Allstate agents can help you find those blind spots while watching out for your wallet.
Call me, Dave Mowdy, at 325-2474. That's 325-2474. Right across the street from Frisch's on East Main Street in Springfield. Based on coverage selected, savings vary, subject to terms, conditions, and availability.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
Tip off to frickin' madness. When we say tip off, not only are we talking about every college basketball game available, but our new barbecue rib tips only at Frickers. Delicious bite-sized barbecue rib tips with your choice of dipping sauce. Every game played to the march to the national championship and domestic draft personal pictures for only $6.50. Tip that personal picture. Tip off to the national championship of college basketball and frickin' barbecue rib tips at the home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Frickers.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy houses as is, fast for cash. Call me today for an all-cash offer on any of your properties, and we can close within days at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. Do you own a property that's outdated and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, I'll buy it. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. Would it be convenient for you if you could simply take what you wanted and leave the rest behind? Great, I'll buy it. I buy all types of real estate completely as is. I buy vacant properties, inherited homes, divorce situations, death in the family, apartment buildings, rental portfolios. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. Call TurboTrack Realty today for an all-cash offer and speak with one of our friendly staff members at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000.
You could save big when you bundle your home and auto with Progressive, but when we just come out and say it, it feels like it falls a bit flat. So we're going to tap into human emotion, first with some music. Then, in a serious tone, I'll say, save big when you bundle your home and auto with Progressive. And even though it was about saving money with Progressive, we'll fade out the music so you know it was poignant. Wow, powerful stuff. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discount not available in all states or situations.
Look at this. J.D. Power awarded Cricket #1 customer service and purchase experience in the MVNO segment.
Huh. Award-winning service has a nice ring to it. Say it again.
Award-winning service.
Ooh, again.
Hear ye, hear ye. Announcing 2 more reasons to switch to Cricket and their award-winning service.
Wow, it does have a nice ring to it. Switch and see for yourself.
For J.D. Power 2022 Wireless Customer Care and Purchase Experience Mobile Network Operator Performance Studies Award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
Need legal help? We can help. Hi, this is Mike Foley, your Montgomery County Clerk of Courts. Have you heard about our new help center? It's located at the Montgomery County Courthouse, providing legal information and forms. And we also share programs and resources that may be available to you. Let us help you navigate the court system. Visit us online at courthouse2u.com for more info.
Staples stores are a new world of possible with innovative tools for small business and remote workers and learners. Explore more at your local Staples store or staplesconnect.com.
At Lowe's, every pro is an MVP to us. It doesn't matter how big or small your business is. If you're a plumber, roofer, electrician, or remodeler, your business earns back when you spend, gets exclusive offers, and paint rewards. It all adds up to help drive your business. Join Lowe's MVP's Pro Rewards and Partnership Program today. Minimum purchase required. Earnings and paint rewards awarded as Lowe's e-gift cards. Exclusions, restrictions, and more terms apply. Valid through 12/31/22. See Lowe's.com/L/Pro Loyalty Terms. Subject to change. U.S. only.
Welcome to Allstate, where you can really control your savings. Because when you drive less, you save more with pay per mile. So you're really in control of your savings. Only paying for the miles you drive. Yeah, life is good when you're in the driver's seat. Allstate. Here, better protection costs a whole lot less. You're in good hands with Allstate. Click, call, or visit allstate.com to save today.
Not available in every state. Savings vary, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company, Norfolk, Illinois.
Hey everyone, this is Rudy with Ohio Can. Did you know there are more than 200,000 young people in Ohio being raised by grandparents, relatives, and close friends, kinship, and adoptive families? Sound like you? If so, we want to say thank you. You are amazing. We also want you to know the entire team at Ohio Can Kinship and Adoption Navigator program is here for you. Have questions about childcare, education, finances, or more? Ohio Can help. Remember the K for kinship and call 1-844-OHIO-KAN or visit ohiokan.org to learn more.
Did you know that Masterforce has thousands of tools at Menards? Any tool you want, we have. There are hammers, drills, pliers, levels, wrenches, grinders, sanders, air compressors, nailers, workbenches, mowers, blowers, chainsaws, floor jacks, knee pads, work lights, fans. Whew. And that's just a taste. Want power, performance, durability? Come check out the wide range of products from Masterforce, exclusively at Menards.
Want to find out what handheld perfection tastes like? Just stop by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken today for a flawless family feast with the 12-piece strips meal at a great price. Get 12 premium tenderloins that are freshly marinated, honey-dipped, hand-breaded, and cooked to crispy perfection, along with 3 large sides, 6 fluffy biscuits, and 4 of your favorite Lee sauces. This is dippable chicken done right. Get the best in boneless chicken with the 12-piece strips meal at a great price. Only at Lee's, famous for chicken.
Ray Magliozzi here. eBay Motors has the right parts at the right prices. 122 million of them. And if there's one thing I love, it's great parts and great prices. eBay Motors, let's ride.
WING 1410 Dayton. Dayton's ESPN Radio.
Justin Kinner and Kev Nash back with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station. 10 minutes from now, ESPN and Dayton's own Mark Adams. He will hop in the booth with me here as I'm coming at you live from Indianapolis, Indiana Farmers Coliseum, the host site for tonight's Horizon League Men's Basketball Championship. Northern Kentucky, an hour south from us here in Dayton. Wright State, a bid to the NCAA tournament, one of the auto qualifier bids on the line tonight. And of course, these two teams have been the face of the league for quite a few years now. This is the second time these two teams have met in the championship game. And looking forward to that matchup coming up tonight, 7 o'clock on ESPN. Mark Adams will be in the booth with me coming up here in about 10 minutes or so. Dayton Flyers news as well. Doug Hochschild, Flyers SID, sent this over a little bit ago. Here are some of the A10 awards list. Of course, the all-conference first team, as we talked about. No Dayton Flyers on that all-conference first team, which always fascinates me. The Dayton Flyers finished with the second-best record in the A10, finished in second. No Flyers on that first team. I thought Deron Holmes more than deserved to be on that first team. Does finish all-conference second team at the very least. And then, of course, Tumani Kamara for the Dayton Flyers is on the third team for the A10 as far as that's concerned. So we talked a little bit ago about Deron Holmes on the all-rookie team, all-defensive team. I mean, he ate today. He got taken care of course, but the Flyers, regardless of individual awards and that type of ordeal, of course, nonetheless, they are the number 2 seed, and they'll have to win their conference tournament to get to the NCAA tournament. I don't think they've done enough to get in that large bid. Obviously, that LaSalle loss from about a week and a half ago still hurting them. We'll see. Kobe Brea, of course, wins the 6th Man of the Year award for the Dayton Flyers as well. Deron Holmes wins the Rookie of the Year. Many people were fighting for Anthony Grant to win the coach the Coach of the Year. And of course, that was, the Davidson head coach wins the Coach of the Year for the A10. Of course, they finished with the number 1 seed. Anthony Grant, I thought, considering how many freshmen he had, we hear about that a lot, about how young this team is, all the freshmen. A good chunk of those freshmen, to be fair, have that freshman label because last year during COVID, a good chunk of those kids you were non-existent as far as the class rank is concerned because everyone they didn't lose a year of eligibility. However, it doesn't change the fact that the best players on this team, all, Malachi Smith and of course, you had Deron Holmes, the 2 best players right there, 1 and 2. True freshmen. Then you fill in the transfers with Kamara and some of the other guys, experienced players on top of that. But watching them develop from the beginning of the season to now, yes, Anthony Grant should have been in conversation for Coach of the Year, but I don't think he should have got Coach of the Year. You can't lose the 3 straight bye games that they did at the beginning of the season and expect to be in that expect to get it in the conversation. Yes, because of how they flipped the switch and were able to turn it around. But nonetheless, still a great season. You know what? Anthony Grant, I don't think he cares about that A10 Coach of the Year. He just cares about this team winning a couple more games to be able to punch their ticket to the NCAA tournament. And we'll cover that more throughout the week. Wright State will have their opportunity coming up here around the corner. Kev, one thing I want to get into coming up, this was released a little bit ago. And I know it's being talked about on the Paul Feinbaum show right now, but this was a list of the best head coach hires in college football over the past 5 years. Mm-hmm. Luke Fickell, Ryan Day, obviously Lincoln Riley's on that list. Who do you think who came in at number 1 on that list?
Over the last 5 years?
Over the last 5 years. They ranked the top 10 coaching hires from the last 5 years.
That's a good question. It would have to be... Got to be Lincoln Riley, right?
Lincoln Riley comes in 3rd. Luke Fickell comes in at 1. Where do you believe Ryan Day fell on this list? Because this one is interesting.
4.
He came in at number 2.
Okay.
I have no problem Fickell being at 1. If Cincinnati doesn't make the playoff this year, is Fickell at number 1? I don't know. I think that what Cincinnati has done has been beyond impressive. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to take anything away from what they've accomplished, but I think Ryan Day should have been number 1 on that list, mainly because I think that he had about as tough a job as anybody. Lincoln Riley and him have a lot of similar parallels as far as taking over legendary head coaches, taking over legendary programs without any head coaching experience, and both have nailed it. Obviously, Lincoln Riley has been able to use what he's accomplished at Oklahoma and propel himself to the job at USC, of course. But I think what Ryan Day has been able to do, making the playoffs all but 1 year, of course, not already a national championship appearance. I mean, is obviously getting Justin Fields to come along. I don't think you can go wrong with either. But Luke Fickell at number 1, of course, I don't have a problem with it. I would have had Ryan Day there just because of the way he took over Ohio State. That program could have been left in shambles. Players could have transferred out left and right. And he didn't just get guys to stay. He got even bigger names to come and join and just keep that train on the tracks a little bit. And I think that's about as tough as building up a Cincinnati, if you will. But either way, well-deserved nonetheless.
Yeah, I think Luke Fickell definitely deserved to be on that list simply because where UC football was Tommy Tuberville, he was the head coach at Cincinnati, and they were off the rails. Like, you got to think, like, obviously the Brian Kellys was there that got them on track. And other coaches that end up going elsewhere, like they do like a 2-year bid at UC, get them back on track, and then go to a quote unquote big time program. So what Fickle took over, that was not the same program that other teams took over after Brian Kelly and everything like that. So him to get them back on track and then ultimately get them to the college football playoff definitely deserves a lot of credit. Another person I was curious, see where they fell on there. Where's Lane Kiffin on that list?
Let me pull the whole list back up. Of course, the internet's being a little shoddy here. He's not at 9.
Because my opinion,
Mario Cristobal is at 7.
Okay.
I don't even know if he's on this list.
Okay. So
he's not on the list.
My opinion of Lane Kiffin, I think he is one of the best offensive minds out there. You got to think like where he's been. Obviously, the flame out situation at USC, the flame out at Tennessee, the flame out with the Raiders. And, you know, he goes to Alabama, then he goes to, it was FAU, goes there, and now he's at Ole Miss and got Ole Miss back on track. They're winning ball games again. I can't even remember when the last time Ole Miss was relevant. When Eli was there? And now they're a relevant program. Another guy, his name is drawing a blank in my mind right now, but the coach from Arkansas, he's a pretty dang good head coach as well. So it's a lot of good head coaches out there, but I'm not sure if I can put Mario Cristobal that high on that list yet.
Sam Pittman, by the way.
Sam Pittman, yes. Arkansas, yes, that's his name. He's good. But Cristobal, I don't know, man. I want to see what he does as alma mater down there in Miami. I want to see something before I'm willing to go ahead and put him in.
Put a good staff together, but you're right. I mean, it means nothing. I mean, you got to see what it does on the field.
Because I mean, you got like a lot of these programs, like we say, like, oh man, this is a great hire, and no doubt about it. But when you go to certain places where they're so financially invested, like a Oregon, and now he's at Miami. Now, one could argue that Oregon's more financially invested than Miami before he showed up. And one of the contingencies of him showing up to go to his alma mater is for them to be financially invested, a la hiring a lot of coaches, building, you know what I'm saying, better facilities for players and everything like that. So I want to see if that investment for Miami pays off with wins on the field.
All right, good stuff. We'll pick up with that here in a little bit. I want to dive back into that. We'll complete that list. But Mark Adams, Dayton Zone with ESPN. He'll be on the call tonight with Bob Rashusen on ESPN. Wright State, Northern Kentucky, Horizon League Championship game. I'm live here in Indianapolis, as is Mark Adams, who will be on the call tonight. As I mentioned, he's going to pop up here in the media booth with me here in about 5 minutes. So ESPN's Mark Adams. We talk Wright State. We'll talk Dayton Flyers. We'll talk NCAA Tournament. All of that coming up 5 minutes from now. Don't go anywhere.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be mostly cloudy, a high near 43. Tonight's going to be mostly cloudy with a chance of snow, a low near 35. And tomorrow's going to be mostly cloudy, a high near 48. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
When I'm ready to clean my floors, I always have a Swiffer WetJet washable ready to go. Yeah, Swiffer WetJet now has new washable pads. I just use, wash, and use again. It's great. And they're not just any pads either. They're 3-zone microfiber pads that are safe on wood floors. The WetJet spray breaks down the dirt, and the microfiber pad easily absorbs it. So try Swiffer WetJet washables today. Use, wash, use again. Also available in Swiffer Sweeper XL washable pad.
My heart was racing just making spaghetti. I could have waited to tell my doctor, but I didn't wait.
I was short of breath just reading a book. I could have delayed telling my doctor, but I didn't wait.
They told their doctors and found out they have atrial fibrillation, a condition which makes it about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. If you have one or more of these symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness, this is no time to wait. Contact your doctor.
Brought to you by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Amsoil, the #1 in synthetic lubricants since 1972. The Colonel here for Homestead Feed and Supply. Whether it's motorcycles, small engines, diesel, or high-performance gasoline, we got it. Come see us, Homestead Feed and Supply, 1833 North Dayton Lakeview Road, New Carlisle.
Tip off to frickin' madness. When we say tip off, not only are we talking about every college basketball game available, but our new barbecue rib tips only at Frickers. Delicious bite-sized barbecue rib tips with your choice of dipping sauce. Every game played to the march to the national championship, and domestic draft personal pictures for only $6.50. Tip that personal picture. Tip off to the national championship of college basketball and frickin' barbecue rib tips at the home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Frickers.
Build an intentional workplace culture with Jessica Kriegel during Express Talks, a free event March 30th from Express Employment Professionals. Register at expresspros.com/Express Talks.
Can you ship out that order to the branch in Savannah?
Yep, it's got bananas.
No, Savannah! Savannah!
Yeah, I'm also gonna add some strawberries.
You know, maybe instead of giving everyone their own personal blenders to make smoothies at our desks, they should have just ordered food through Easy Cater.
Oh, sorry, Jill, I can't right now. Gotta ship that order out to Savannah.
Some food just doesn't work at work. But Easy Cater just does. Food for work, on time, and as ordered. From over 82,000 restaurants. Order 24/7 at easycater.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. So you need to change your oil. Right now, you can get 5 quarts of Valvoline Daily Protection or Valvoline Max Life High Mileage Motor Oil with an STP oil filter, plus an STP air filter or cabin air filter for just $36.99. Visit one of our 6,000 stores or order from AutoZone.com for same-day store pickup or next-day delivery.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
This is a metaphor for your business's journey. Sometimes it feels like you're going 100 miles an hour, barely keeping up. But to cruise through challenges, you need someone who's right there with you. That's what Dell Technologies advisors do. They have the Windows PCs and tech advice you need to get past whatever's in front of you and get where you want to go. Call an advisor today at 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL. A start to a simpler experience with Windows 11 Pro.
I had a nighttime routine for my frequent heartburn. I would drink milk, I would sleep upright with more pillows, but that painful burning stayed. So I made Prilosec OTC part of my morning routine. With just one pill in the morning, Prilosec OTC prevents excess acid production, blocking heartburn day and night. Now I have a new nighttime routine. I call it sleeping.
Block heartburn all day and all night with Prilosec OTC. It's possible while taking Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company presents.
And Doug. Don't you just love the smell of old books?
Shh, this is a library.
Sorry, ma'am. We're looking for a book titled Liberty Mutual Customizes Your Car Insurance so you only pay for what you need.
I don't think we carry that, but check nonfiction.
It really does devour literature.
Please leave.
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Yeah, I'm so stressed. Our business is growing. We've got people all over now.
Ooma.
What is that? Meditation?
I'm recommending Ooma and their all-in-one phone, video, and collaboration solution.
Ooma?
Yep. Switching to Ooma is a cinch. Just $24.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Now you're feeling it. Visit Ooma.com. That's OOMA.com to learn more. Ooma. Smart communications for the smarter business.
Ray Magliozzi here. eBay Motors has the right parts at the right prices. 122 million of them. And if there's one thing I love, it's great parts and great prices. eBay Motors, let's ride.
Why? Just think about it. Why is the #1 selling brand of chainsaws not sold at Lowe's or the Home Depot? We can give you over 10,000 reasons. That's how many authorized local steel dealers you can find across the country. Visit one and you'll find a range of dependable gas and battery-powered tools, from trimmers to blowers. And you'll find service from experienced professionals. Real steel. Find yours at steelusa.com. Lowe's and Home Depot are trademarks of their respective companies.
Just 3 words tell you everything you need to know. They tell you why we employ more than 2,000 workers at our factory in Virginia Beach, and why over 10,000 local steel dealers are putting battery power in the hands of Americans. Just 3 words. Made in America. Real steel. Find yours at steelusa.com. The majority of steel products sold in America are made in America of U.S. and foreign materials. Batteries and chargers are sourced internationally.
Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com.
All right, we welcome you back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty, of course, and Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street. 518-1410, that's the number to call in and jump in on the conversation. I'm live here in Indianapolis. Kev's holding down the fort back in the WING studio, so thank you for that, Kev. I appreciate you. But
no problem.
Live here in Indianapolis at Indiana Farmers Coliseum, the host site for the Horizon League Men's Basketball Championship. Coming on later on tonight, 7 o'clock to tip off Wright State, Northern Kentucky. And I cannot wait for that matchup again. And joining us now, we have Dayton's own ESPN's Mark Adams. And Mark, we appreciate you hanging out with us here today. We'll get you in this camera shot just as much as we can. But you have enough camera time.
I'm wearing a red, white, and blue tie tonight. Now, but most of you that know me know that I only wear green. I've worn green ties for 8+ years because it's to honor my father, who was born on St. Patrick's Day. And so this is the first game in over 8 years that I'm not wearing a green tie. Now, the reason for that is that my son, Jimmy, who's actually off camera right now, he's a captain of the United States Army, and the Horizon League is honoring leaders in the Indianapolis area. And so Jimmy and several of his officer friends will be here tonight, and they will be actually featured at the under 8 timeout. So I'm really excited about it. I hope I hold it all together. You know how emotional I am, So I'm hoping I hold it all together. But anyway, that's the reason for the red, white, and blue tie tonight.
No, and that's perfect. And when I found out that you were doing the games this year, I was ecstatic about that. Of course, you do such a great job with the American Conference, but I know how passionate you are about the local teams in Dayton with, of course, the Dayton Flyers and the Wright State Raiders. But what a matchup tonight. You had two good ones last night, of course. Purdue-Fort Wayne, new to the league. They're one of the newer teams along with Robert Morris, of course, and Coach Kaufman did a fantastic job. I don't know if I've told you this before, but it's interesting. My middle school principal is actually his mother-in-law. So
is that right?
I found that out. Yeah, she suspended me when I was in middle school. So that was a good icebreaker conversation to have with Coach Ray.
He's a really good guy. He's fascinating. For those of you that haven't seen Purdue-Fort Wayne, I got a chance to watch him practice and get to know Coach Kaufman. And I this way I described it on the air last night. Have you ever seen the show Resident Alien?
No, I have not.
Okay, you got to see it first of all. This alien comes. It's a typical alien show. Comes in, and the guy ends up looking like a human being, and then he just gets into the community and the whole thing. Anyway, but he sees the world different, obviously, than anybody because he's an alien.
Yep.
Well, John Kaufman as a coach, I mean, this most respectful, positive way. John Kaufman's like the resident alien. I mean, like he has terms that he uses. He has a glossary and a video glossary that his players have to learn. So like a missile cut. I never heard of a missile cut before. I'd ask him about a boomerang, which means the ball goes one way and then comes back the other way.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, but it was like fascinating stuff. The way that he communicates with his team, and a really good guy. His wife's a softball coach at Northwest Ohio up in Lima, so Northwest Ohio University. So it was really fun to meet him. But anyway, yeah, I love the guy. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, and they of course took on Northern Kentucky. Darren Horn, the head coach for the Norse, did a great job since taking over for Coach Brandon. I mean, they haven't missed a beat. In fact, they won the tournament in 20. And that was Darren Horn's first NCAA tournament appearance, or should have been, with the Norse, of course, but that was the unfortunate season that was canceled all because of COVID, but has a chance to potentially get back. Of course, Scott Nagy's been there before with Wright State, did a fantastic job at South Dakota State before coming to Wright State. So both coaches looking for their second NCAA tournament appearance with their respective teams right now. This is a championship game coming up. I know the one seed went down last night. I know it's referred to as a potential upset, but Wright State was a half game.
Upset.
Yeah, that was a half game. They were a half game away from winning the regular season title outright, but fun matchup tonight.
Yeah, both seeds, the 3 and 4 seeds, won, but neither one was an upset. And I think Darren's really interesting because I got to know Darren when he was at Western Kentucky. Remember Ty Rogers, when Ty Rogers hit the big shot in the NCAA tournament, beat Drake? The shot, they call it, down in Bowling Green. I've always been a big Western Kentucky fan because my uncle went to Western Kentucky. And so along the way, I got to know Darren a little bit, and then he went to South Carolina, and of course that didn't work out. And they parted ways, and got fired like I did, right? And so
hired to be fired.
That's right. There's two kinds of coaches: those who have been fired, those who are going to be, right? And so I was really interested. I asked Darren what he learned from that experience, and the first thing that came out of his mouth was the same way for me: was humility. that you believe as a coach, you know everything. And I was, young. I had been a head coach at 25 and had always won. And then all of a sudden, the pink slip got me. And you really do learn humility. He learned that there's balance in life too. The next job that he got, which is Northern Kentucky, he's learned how to leave the office and how to be a father and a husband as well, and balance all those things, which oftentimes young head coaches like myself or others don't really understand that. But he's a good guy, a great coach. And their matchup zone is really, really interesting. In fact, Justin, for all the fans that are watching tonight, I'll mention it on the air. I want you to don't watch the ball. Watch off the ball and watch how the defenders are constantly pointing. I mean, their communication is high level defensively, and that's why they're so good defensively, because it's like what Mick Cronin ran at Cincinnati when he ran zone, where you will see traffic cops defensively directing who goes where, and that high level communication is why that defense is so effective.
Wright State, the highest scoring team in the Horizon League, and they've had problems against the zone. Last night's the best. I mean, when the zone has been thrown their way, they almost look like a completely different team. They got the ball in the short corner last night, did a good job. I mean, so when they played Cleveland State last, they lost only by 4. It's like 71 to 67. Right. They had 26 turnovers. Grant Basile only had 5 points, and they still only lost by 4. Like, talking with Nagy after the game, and he goes, that's 26 possessions. We didn't even get a shot off, and we only lost by 4. He goes, we have 22 turnovers. We win that ball game probably. So, interesting conversation with him about that game, but they took better care of the ball last night. Basile, 27 points, 11 rebounds. I don't know how Coach Nagy has an eye for these post players, with him not being a former post player himself, but, man, he knows how to find them. Dom at South Dakota State, obviously Loudon Love, and now all of a sudden with Grant Basile. And let's not forget about Tanner Holden either. Yeah,
Tanner, while a lot of people would say that he didn't play well offensively, he had a double-double. He had 12 points, 10 rebounds, and didn't have a typical Tanner Holden night offensively, but he did other things well. And I think that's a big key tonight. That, look, this zone is going to give you fits and starts at times. There's going to be a few droughts here and there, but it's on the defensive end. That's where Wright State has made their biggest improvement. This was not a Scott Nagy defensive team until really maybe in the last week or so. And Scott blames that on himself. He lost his dad, as we all know. And I found that fascinating, Justin, that Scott said, when I asked him, what have you learned from it? He goes, I don't know if I've learned anything. I mean, it was like there's a hole in his heart from it. And I understand that. I've been there and done that. And the hole never fills. I just visited my dad's grave just this weekend, and I just realized I thought of Scott, but what he said was, I didn't do a good job early in the season. I thought that vulnerability that he showed to his team by admitting that he didn't do a good job during the season, I just thought that was fascinating for him to admit that, and then to recover from that. And now the team is together, and of course, all the deaths within the program of grandfathers and fathers, it's really forced a close-knit team right now. But in regards to the zone, here's the key for Wright State. Every time the ball stalls, advantage Northern Kentucky. That's the biggest key. They've been better at moving the basketball, getting it from A to B to C to D, inside out, expansion, contraction. I mean, that's what you've got to do against any zone. And what I see coaches often play against the zone, they run their quote-unquote zone offense. I think that's stupid. I don't get that. I think you run a motion-type offense where it's just you're getting the ball moving and you got cutters and ball movement and the whole thing. Because every time the ball stalls, it's advantage Northern Kentucky. We saw that last night in that game against Purdue-Fort Wayne.
Yeah, and talked about Grant Basile, talked about Tanner Holden, but obviously, by the way, and why am I blanking on his name? The point guard for Wright State. I know their roster.
Trey Calvin.
Trey Calvin. He had a big game, of course. But is it Braden Norris that plays at Loyola?
Well, this is why. So yeah, it is. By the way,
it's his brother.
It's a brother. So both Norris brothers, both Norris brothers could end up going to the NCAA tournament because Loyola's already made it.
Yes,
and now that could also happen for Wright State tonight as well.
That's what I meant to ask. In a much,
but that's okay. So I'll give away a trade secret here. So these are my game notes here. All right, and so I don't equate numbers to faces.
Yes.
Okay. I go numbers to names. So one of the things I take a lot of pride in fact, Jimmy, Jimmy knows this, whenever they play the national anthem right before, the thing I tell myself is be disciplined. And what I mean by that is don't call a name until I'm not always successful on this. I'm about 99.9%, but I miss some on occasion. But I want to make sure that I get Marquez Warwick. I want to get that right when he makes a play.
Yep.
And so I don't rely on my memory of a face to a name. I have this in front of me so that I get names right, because mom and dad want their kid's name right? It's a basic fundamental, but how many broadcasters, and I do it too sometimes, I get ahead of myself and I screw up a name. But that's why I have this with me.
Oh, I've done some OHSA volleyball and boys and girls basketball, and trust me, I know better than anyone how crucial it is to get a name right.
I'm sure you do.
I can get a stat wrong. I can get a lot of things wrong. I can get the score wrong, but you say a kid's name, but that's the responsibility. Obviously, you got to make sure you check on that, of course. But yeah, that means a lot to a lot of people. But really cool. But I know you'll have a few more minutes. With you being from Dayton, of course, and so familiar with some of these programs, like you do all over. I mean, you do big games on ESPN. What year is this for you?
This is my 23rd season. Yeah, and I will complete 30 games by Friday night.
How special is that?
Yeah.
And then, of course, so you. Obviously, the American Conference, you do a lot of Houston, Cincinnati, a lot of those games. But when you do get the rare occasion to come cross paths with, a Dayton game with the Flyers or a Wright State Raiders, I mean, how special is that with you being from the area?
Very, very special, and I appreciate you asking that question. I mean, these are my roots right here. I mean, this is where I belong. Kelvin Sampson, one time many years ago, because I worked with Kelvin at Washington State, I was his defensive coordinator for all intents and purposes, and he asked me when he was at Oklahoma, and I was 50 years old at the time. He said, if you could make one decision again in your life, make it again, what would it be? And he thought I would say I should have stayed with you. I said, Kelvin, I would never come work for you. He looked at me, a little ticked off, And I said, but let me explain, because I'm a small college guy. That's where I belong. I'm not a big time Division I guy. That's not where I belong. I'm still an educator, teacher. I really enjoy that aspect of it. And so when I came to ESPN, Dan Steer, who was the coordinating producer, hired by Tao, all those guys, excuse me, and he said to me, he said, what's your goal? And I'm sure he fully expected me to say, I want to be the next Dick Vitale. I said, I have no interest in being Dick Vitale or Fran Fraschilla or Jay Bill. I don't want to do that. I said, when you have a big mid-major game on your radar screen, I want to see my name blipping right there. That's what I want to do. And that's when I end up doing the Mid-American Conference. I did some Horizon League stuff. I did the OVC. Then I had a wonderful marriage with the Missouri Valley Conference for 10 years with my great friend Rich Hollenberg. We covered some of the most historic games in the history of that league. And then they gave me the opportunity to go to the American, and so more eyeballs in the game, but still it's all the same. And then when I got a chance to do the Horizon League, I'm like, hell yeah, I'm all in on that deal, And so last night while I'm on the broadcast, there were Wright State fans sitting right down there, and they could hear me. As you know, I'm like really loud, and they could hear me, and they kept looking at me like, and they were having fun. I mean, it was neat to see the fans, that you could interact with them live in person versus over a screen. So I really got a big kick out of that. And so that was really fun. And then on Twitter, Emily Vogelpool, who played for Wright State. She sent me a message last night, just how much she really enjoyed the broadcast. That stuff, it means the world to me. I mean, I have friends there. I did the Wright State preseason event 3 years ago before all the COVID stuff hit. And so Bob Grant's a good friend of mine. I respect Scott. Clint Sargent. Clint sent me every scouting report of all the teams in this tournament that were left in this tournament. I mean, all I had to do was ask. And Clint took care of me. Yeah, That's the kind of people. They're not paranoid. Sometimes the high Division I level, there's some paranoia that goes on with those $3-4 million contracts. Okay, and I understand that, but these are my roots. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm honored to be here. I go to the American next for 4 games on Thursday and Friday, but there's no place I'd rather be tonight than right here at the Indiana Farmers Coliseum. I'm working on that because I almost forgot the name of the Coliseum last time. So I'm just repeating that. Jimmy's smiling right now. He knows what I'm talking about. So I'm thrilled to be here, Justin, and to be here with you to talk about Wright State basketball just means a lot. I'm glad to be here.
Yep. Talked with Joe Lenardi earlier today. Winner of this, he's had the Horizon auto qualifier as a projected first 4 team. And it says, so what's the likelihood of Wright State or NKU? NKU's only an hour from Dayton. What's the likelihood of either of them being in? He goes, he doesn't have them in this particular bracket that he just released. He goes, but knowing how the NCAA works, although they try to say they don't like to keep you away from a home site, the winner of this game will most likely potentially be a first 4 team, but that would put them as a 16 seed. Do you view these 2 teams as 16 seed?
I think their resume. Yeah, I think their resume would warrant that.
With the 13.
Yeah, I do. I think when you're at 20 games, you're double-digit losses, and there aren't any really marquee wins. That's going to happen. But listen, Justin, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Because for every win you get in the NCAA tournament, whether it be in the first 4 or beyond, it's worth $1.7 million over a 6-year period. That's divided up among teams in your conference. But if you can win that 16 game, That's $1.7 million, and then you move on to the next one.
I've always said that. When people say, "Well, it's the first four, it's the play-in tournament." Like, it's the NCAA tournament. We don't call the wild card round in the NFL playoffs. Oh, so when the Bengals got their wild card win this year over the Raiders, they ended that 31-year playoff drought win. And I said, "Well, hold on, it's the wild card. That's not the playoffs. You have to win the wild card to get into the playoffs. That's the way you talk about the first four, which I don't view it that way. It's the NCAA tournament. Either of these two teams get there and get a first four win. If that's how it crumbles, then fine. But I'm excited. March Madness is here, and it starts tonight with you on the call, Wright State and KU.
It's going to be really a lot of fun. And for the Wright State fans, I want you to keep an eye on one guy in particular in Northern Kentucky, and that's Sam Vinson. Sam's only freshman.
He's a freshman, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Justin, I love this kid. Look, one thing, if I have one talent, it's an eye for talent. And I think this kid's special. I mean, he is Northern Kentucky's Joe Burrow. That's what an impact he's made on this team. He's mature beyond his years. Now, his decision-making wasn't great last night, but the plays that he makes, the way that he approaches the game, he's a difference maker. And he's a guy, while we talk about Marquez Warwick and those guys, but he's like Robin right now to the Batman. So keep an eye on him. And I think if Trey Calvin on the Wright State side, that if he continues to play at the level that he is, I mean, he's averaging 17 points a game over his last 3 or 4 games. He's shooting lights out, damn near 60%. I mean, that kid is playing uber confident right now. And Scott's always had a way to bring guards along. And look at Nate Walters, at South Dakota State, great player. Cole Gentry, who was like the maestro of this team. And then of course Loudon Love, really great player. But then now you got Grant Basile. I'll take Grant Basile, by the way. And I love Loudon, but I think as a pro, a pro, he's a unicorn. I mean, that kid scores at all 3 levels. He sees over small defenders. You can run, like against the zone. Don't be surprised they bring him out, because when he picks and pops on one of those guards, he sees over those small guards and knock down 3 balls. So I think there's some really interesting matchups tonight. And I'm getting ready for the game already. I've been studying this stuff and looking at things, and so that's some things to kind of look for tonight.
All right, Wright State, NKU. NKU got the best of Wright State the last time these two teams met in the Horizon League championship game. NKU's never lost in the Horizon League championship game at that. So keep that in mind. Coming up later on tonight, Wright State, NKU. Mark Adams will be on the call. Appreciate you taking time and hanging up with me here in the 300 level.
My pleasure, buddy.
Right.
You do a great job, Joe. I'm always glad to come on.
Appreciate you.
Bet.
More of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash next.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Everybody knows that Roosters is a fun, casual joint with their award-winning waitstaff, great food, fun, and laughter. It's a quick stop on the way home to sit back and unwind. It's a front row seat to the big game. Roosters is where you, your family, and friends can order pizza, sandwiches, salads, and more. And the home of award-winning wings that are fresh, never frozen, and so big you won't believe it. It's your family's other dinner table. Roosters, a fun, casual joint, and proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
Spending more time at home? There has never been a better time to invest in your home. There is nothing better than a home theater or high-fidelity music system from Audio Etc. Can't watch your favorite basketball team in person? No problem. Audio Etc. can bring any game home. It's better than being there. You have to see it to believe the incredible quality of the picture and sound. 4K is amazing, but just imagine the 8K experience. Come to Audio Etc. today and experience 8K TVs and projectors. Surround sound? You haven't heard surround sound till you hear Dolby Atmos 360 degrees. It puts you smack dab in the middle with 11.2 channel surround sound. Audio Etc. has the brands, the deals, and the excitement. Audio Etc. powered by Klipsch, Bowers & Wilkins, SVS, Marantz, Denon, Sony, and a whole list of high-performance brands that you've probably never heard of. Audio Etc. 551 Congress Park Drive at the corner of Paragon in Centerville, or call 434-9770.
Audio Etc.'s crazy cool showroom.
We're out of the brand name, but we do have the generic version of
Serene's Pharmacy can't keep up with allergy season.
Who's next in line?
They need certified technicians to alleviate the headache.
Ma'am, I'm so sorry for the wait. We'll have your prescription filled soon. I need some help.
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Research shows people remember radio ads that remind them of the past. So to help you remember that Liberty Mutual Insurance Company customizes your home insurance so you only pay for what you need, here's an ad that'll really take you back.
Back in my day, I heard a voice from the radio say, Liberty Mutual customizes my home insurance so I only pay for what I need. I'm getting on in years now, but heavens to Betsy, there are some things an old fella like me just never forgets.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Ray Magliozzi here. eBay Motors has the right parts at the right prices. 122 million of them. And if there's one thing I love, it's great parts and great prices. eBay Motors, let's ride.
There are many ways to catch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. You can catch it live right here on 1410 Wing AM, or you can stream the show at wingam.com. But now we have another way that you can take in the show. You can now watch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live on ESPN Dayton's Facebook page. Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, and we are back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, with you on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Kev, funny thing, still no update as far as the Major League Baseball season is concerned. I just checked, of course, been refreshing ESPN Jeff Passan's Twitter handle, of course, and nothing popping up. I don't know. I'm telling you right now, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident am I that the season will, that they'll get a deal done today? I'd say it's a -5. There's no way. No way. They've been too far apart on everything. And to be honest, and this is why last week when we, of course, discussed this with ESPN baseball reporter Jesse Rogers about, why should we expect a deal to get done at this deadline when the first deadline that literally put games on the line wasn't enough to get that urgency up to get a deal done. If that wasn't enough a couple days ago to lose out on opening day, which we're already missing, why would all of a sudden this matter? I saw someone post yesterday that this could potentially go as far to get to a certain point where they just might not have a season at all. Wow. I think that's drastic. Don't really see it going that far, but at this point, like, they're not budging. No one's budging. This is the ultimate staring contest, Kevin. I don't think either of them are going to blink.
Yeah, man. Normally when you get a labor situation like this and when it's going to end, you start hearing the buzz. It was kind of like the buzz that we were getting last week. Like, all right, man, they met till 2:00 in the morning. They're scheduled to speak at this time. So you start getting those leaks and everything like that. Right now, we're getting no leaks. The only thing that I even seen about it was on the bottom ticker on ESPN today. They didn't even talk about it because there was so much breaking news in the NFL. So I definitely doubt that we get anything with Major League Baseball settled by the end of the week. I'm saying baseball isn't going to start until middle of May, say like Mother's Day weekend, somewhere around there.
All right. So, by the way, ESPN Joe Lunardi, as we transition back to college basketball again here in Indianapolis, Wright State, Northern Kentucky coming up. Shout out to Mark Adams from Dayton, of course, and hopped on with us. He's on the call tonight. ESPN, Wright State, Northern Kentucky, Horizon League title on the line, berth to the NCAA tournament on the line as well. With Ohio State struggling as of late, Kev, they lost over the weekend against Michigan this past Sunday. And they haven't moved. He still has them seated in Pittsburgh as a 6th seed, going up against Memphis. Memphis has been able to pick up a couple quality wins over the last week, and they're out at bubble range. So Memphis no longer on the bubble. They've had enough of a resume now to kind of be in. Memphis, Ohio State, if that really is what the first-round matchup would be, and we'll find out on Selection Sunday this weekend, that would be one hell of an opening round matchup for Ohio State right there.
Oh, huge name brands, name coaches and everything like that. That's really going to move the needle for the average fan out there that doesn't really care about college basketball like that, or even Ohio State basketball like that. But they know Ohio State. They know Penny Hardaway. They know Memphis has had good teams in the past, with Penny Hardaway back when he was a basketball player. Obviously, the D-Rose teams and everything like that. That's a big-time matchup. And the way Ohio State has been playing, man, you can expect them to go in there and just go beat Memphis. They're going to have to go in there and earn it. Matter of fact, they need to get some wins in the Big Ten tournament to give some momentum going into the big dance, man, because the way they've been playing these last, 2 weeks, it's just been lackadaisical and just basically they're out of gas. Like they need a reset. They need some time off to get their legs back underneath them and everything like that and gear up for the tournament. But that's the brutal sport of basketball. You got a game on Tuesday, you got a game on Saturday. Oh man, now we got a game on Big Monday. It just rolls like that, man. So I hope that they can go on a 2-game run in the Big Ten tournament, get their legs underneath them and play on a Friday night at 9:00 so they can get totally rested.
Yeah, that's going to be obviously the key. I mean, we have so many college basketball teams that we're following. Obviously, we'll find out about Wright State later on tonight, whether they're dancing come March with the auto bid from the Horizon League with the Dayton Flyers. Bubble team, according to Joe Lenardi, but I think at the end of the day, their best chance is to go and dancing in March is to win the A-10 tournament. That tips off this week, as does the Big Ten tournament. Ohio State will play on Thursday night at 9:00, 8:15. Pregame coverage begins right here on 1410 Wing AM. But this week is the most exciting week of college basketball, of course, outside of the NCAA tournament itself. I know some people, you want to talk about these are the equivalent to the conference championship games for college football and how those have kind of lost a little bit of their luster a little bit. And that's why so many people are adamant about trying to adjust the college football playoff, when it comes to, how to incorporate the college football or the conference, titles. Mm-hmm. But there's something special about these weeks. But to be honest with you, I don't care about the Big Ten tournament. I don't care about the SEC tournament. I don't care about any of those. Ohio State can lose on Thursday coming up. They're in. Mm-hmm. There's no urgency there. I mean, the best you could do is improve your seed. Obviously, you want to take some confidence and momentum into the tournament, especially after losing to Oral Roberts last year if you're Ohio State. But at the same time, you're in. It's comfortable. There's something special about these kind of tournaments tonight that I'm watching. The Horizon League, of course, watching Dayton have to win their conference tournament to get in. For these teams, it is the NCAA tournament. For Wright State, it's win or go home and stay home. If they win tonight, they go home and await their fate come Selection Sunday. So there's so much. I love these games. Last night, that Furman Chattanooga game.
Oh, man.
I mean, how about that? By the way, that Malachi Smith that won that Conference Player of the Year, that Malachi Smith was at Wright State and transferred.
That was him?
That was him.
Okay, I do.
Did he look familiar?
Yes, I was like, he looks familiar, but obviously I don't know him. And I just kept him moving. I was like, it's just a thing. So, yeah, okay, that totally makes sense why I was looking at him weird last night after they hit the shot and everything like that. But that's awesome. That's cool. But, I mean, like you said, when it's a one bid league like the Horizon League, everything's on the line tonight. And, I mean, then you got the game after that, Gonzaga and St. Mary's. Now, Gonzaga and St. Mary's are the powers of the West Coast Conference and everything like that. 9 times out of 10, both of them will be in the tournament. But for St. Mary's, this whole thing with Gonzaga, they beat Gonzaga once this season and lost to them another time. But St. Mary's is always the runner up. There's always the second place team out there. So for them, it means a ton, and everything like that. And I know for Duke in the ACC championship tournament, it means a lot for Coach K and the Duke Blue Devils to win the ACC championship because of how things went on Saturday, losing to their biggest rival and losing, to be perfectly honest, in front of their fans. And Coach K is grabbing the mic, telling people to shut up. He's wilding out and everything like that. So it means a ton to those programs. Definitely, man. So I'm going to be locked in to college basketball all week long.
Yeah, how about that? Coach Krzyzewski and Duke, his final game at Cameron Indoor. By the way, tickets, the most expensive ticket was $10,000. Someone literally dropped $10,000 for a ticket, Kev. The celebrity personnel that showed up for that. I mean, the dude from The Hangover. I always forget his name. He's an actual doctor from The Masked Singer.
Yeah. I forget his name, but I know you're talking about.
He's right there in the front row. I was like, what the heck
he
is
went
going
to
on?
Duke.
He went to, and I found that out after, but I'm like, what the heck? But yeah, interesting.
Jerry Seinfeld.
Jerry Seinfeld was there.
He was there sitting with Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA.
What was Adam Silver there for?
I have no idea. Well, I mean, I guess it's Coach K coached the Olympic team, maybe.
Fair enough. He put a lot of pros in, that's for sure, but nonetheless. So that was an interesting one. But real quick, last thing on the college basketball front here before we close out the show today. Appreciate everyone who's tuned in. Kev back in the studio holding down the fort here in Indianapolis. But Ohio State, as I mentioned, Joe Lenardi has them as a 6 seed in his latest updated bracketology report. Found that interesting. Kentucky's a 2 seed as far as that goes. And then Wright State, he has them as a 16 seed. And does not have him in the first 4 in this exact go-round, but he said that he envisions that being the case, that they probably would get the nod to go to the first 4. Kevin got a lot of people messaging when I posted that yesterday saying there's no way they'll put him there. I'm like, they literally put the actual team that plays in that arena there years ago. Why is it that crazy to think that the team in town, that all they do is bring up the fact that no one goes to their games? Why is it that crazy of an idea to take that team and put them in that arena? I just people getting so angry at me for putting that on Facebook yesterday just was mind-boggling to me, because they literally put the actual team that plays in that arena for their home regular season games in that arena for the first 4 about 5 years ago. Why would they not put Wright State in there and hold that against them? If they're a 16 seed and they see an opportunity for a local little love tap, especially for the 16 seed matchup, not even the 11s and 12s, I think they'll do it in a heartbeat. And I think the same goes for Northern Kentucky, who's also an hour south from here.
Oh, for sure. That would be awesome, man. So the question is, why were people upset about Wright State potentially playing in
Not
the
really
first
upset,
4?
but just doing the whole, there's no way, not going to do it. I'm like, first of all, don't be dumb. They literally, like I said, the team that actually plays their home games in that arena, they literally put them in the first 4 not even 5 years ago. So I don't think it's that crazy to consider.
Definitely. It can happen. But more importantly, all I want is Wright State to win tonight. I'll worry about the seeding later. Just win tonight, baby. Please.
Yeah, he does have Dayton in the first 4 out, just on the outside looking in. So the first 4, if this was the official bracketology report that was released, Nichols and Alcorn State. See, I don't even care about that. Put Wright State in there. Put Northern Kentucky in there. Put Cleveland State there. I don't care about those two. But UNC, Wilmington, and Bryant are the 16 seed matchups. But Xavier and Wyoming and Rutgers and SMU. Kev, didn't last week the first 4 had a lot more sexy teams? You had Memphis, you had Michigan, Rutgers and Xavier. I mean, that would be pretty dang cool. But holy smokes, Xavier, Wyoming, Rutgers, SMU. Those are who he has in the first 4 based on the 11 and 12 seed matchups.
Shoot, you got those teams in there. You better hope Wright State wins and put them in there so you get more butts in the seats.
Crazy thing is, I've seen bad draws that people still fill up that dang place, and obviously that wouldn't be an issue there. Xavier being there would be huge.
Yeah, true. Man, they'll be out to boo them like crazy. So yeah, let's hope they get in there too.
The other thing too, like Dayton losing to LaSalle is really killer, because Kev, can you imagine a first 4 that would have featured Dayton in the 12 seed category and Wright State in the 16 seed category? Ohio State, if they lose tomorrow, they could be, Lenardi said if they lose Thursday night, if they lose that first round that they're in, that would be 3 of 4 games that they've lost heading into the tournament. They could end up taking a nice little, bracket hit and could potentially be considered a first 4 team on top of that. But can you imagine a first 4, Kev, that would feature Wright State in the 16 seed matchup and Ohio State and UD possibly against one another, or at least both 2 different 12 seed matchups? Unbelievable. The first 4 that could potentially happen.
The Ohio Invitational. I'm here for it.
I think a few people have called for that on a few occasions.
Let's hope it happens, man. I mean, selfishly, we want Ohio State to have a higher seed and, have a great tournament run. But for my eyeballs, and since I would definitely be going to the first 4 regardless who's there, I mean, it would be awesome to see Ohio State, UD, and Wright State all in this span of 2 days.
A couple NFL notes as we close out here. One thing we talked last week a lot about the potential of a Jesse Bates deal getting done. They did franchise tag him, and of course he came up. I think the franchise tag put him, Kevin, like that 13 mil range. He was or 12 or 13 mil range. He was asking for 14 a year. My big thing, I know it's for 1 year and it's to give him more time to negotiate, but what is there to negotiate? What he's asking for. You know what you're willing to pay. You're clearly telling him you're not willing to pay that. Who wins in this franchise tag deal? And by the way, what is the purpose of the franchise tag? We talk about it, it's part of football, but I just am not a fan of it. It's either you're signing him or you're not. Why you're almost holding him prisoner for an extra year. It's either you want him or not. I don't understand why you risk the player's health for a year, like the Dak Prescott thing. You put him on that 1 year franchise tag. When he was out of his contract, he could have just gone and signed elsewhere for a long-term deal as opposed to being tagged for a year and risk getting an injury. I think in football, the franchise tag is a horrible, horrible situation.
Just like everything, it always starts out in a positive until things go wrong. It was before guys just had to play out their contract and they weren't rewarded for their play, because you're not going to franchise tag a dude that you don't think's worth it. So you get like the average salary of the 5 highest paid guys. So you're getting something that you want. Obviously a bigger contract and getting some type of value, but it's not an extended contract. It's basically now used as a stalling technique to see if we can adjust the books, or in a quarterback situation. Wow, that scared me.
Yeah, I jumped. I'm not gonna lie. Like, if I go back and rewatch that, I jumped. So that could be a nice little gift there eventually.
But yeah, just basically a stalling technique for teams to get their books in order, or to see if they really truly want a player. My thing about Jesse Bates, I'm kind of like on the other side of it now. I used to think that they were going to get a long-term deal done. I think ultimately he plays out this year on the franchise tag and he gets a sign and trade. And if the Cincinnati Bengals can do a sign and trade for him, kind of a la how the Jets did a sign and trade with the Seahawks, got 2 first-round picks out of the Seahawks for trading for Jamal Adams, then they should do it.
Especially, and don't be surprised if the Bengals draft a safety in this upcoming draft. I think that to what you're saying, Kev, that's pretty much where I could see this going. I could see them drafting a safety coming up and looking to do a sign and trade with Bates next offseason. I know that's going to anger a lot of Bengals fans, but as I've said before, it's not as if they don't want him. They want his talent, but I think when you start prioritizing where you want to invest your dollars into, and again, you look at that Aaron Rodgers deal today, that is on the horizon for them, right? Like, I just don't see them wanting to invest into that position. It doesn't matter if Jesse Bates is the best safety of all time. I just don't think it's a position that they want to invest that type of money into when they know they have to pay Joe Burrow a lot of money coming up in the next year or two.
Gonna break the bank. And when you have a quarterback that breaks the bank, there's going to be guys that can't be on the team anymore. And a lot of those guys are real good football players. It's just how it goes.
All right. It's probably just got a note from Facebook, by the way. It's picking up the song in the background, so I just got dinged for it. So for those watching on Facebook, it's going to kick us off here probably at any moment. Maybe it's nothing, Kev, but there was a 1-point line on this game earlier today, Wright State and Northern Kentucky, and it shifted, and now it's just an even line. Or no, it was a 3-point line. Now it's just even. I don't know if there's a player out. I'm not really sure what happened from the 5 hours ago when I checked it, but it is now an even line. It's a gimme at this point. These two teams evenly matched. Of course, 1 game separates them. Wright State, as I mentioned, that was a half game away from winning the conference outright. They beat Cleveland State last night. Sets up this matchup as we close things out. Your pick, the over-under for total points is about 134.5. I'd probably take the over. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game.
Really?
2 good defensive teams, but I think you're going to see 2 teams come out hot. But I've also seen Wright State come out flat in these situations. They've been hot against Oakland, hot against Cleveland State. My fear last night, Kev, was watching them start out on fire against Cleveland State. I don't know if they could do that 2 nights in a row. That is my only concern about this matchup is, will Wright State come out flat? That's the big key.
Wright State wins the game 74-68.
74-68.
We going dancing, baby.
74-68 WSU with the win.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to say 81 to 60. I'm going to say 81-68. Right? It's this big.
Ooh.
Bigly.
Hey,
win bigly.
I hope you're right. I like having a relaxed second half, kicking my feet up and enjoying and texting all my fellow Wright State alums, talking about how we going dancing, as opposed to biting my nails and having an ulcer.
Wait, you know what? I lied. NKU's going to win.
You tried to do a reverse jinx?
Yeah, the Bengals weren't going to make the playoffs this year, remember? Didn't they make it to the Super Bowl?
Made it all the way. They were 1 block away from winning the Super Bowl.
The Flyers, after losing all those games to Austin Peay and Lipscomb and all that, they were going to be horrible. They're a 20-plus win team, and a LaSalle lost away from being an at-large team. Kev, I got to stop. I don't know. I just picked Wright State to win 81-68. I might have just jinxed them big time, but no. I'm confident in the Raiders. They're getting back to the NCAA tournament, and we've never seen UD and Wright State make the NCAA tournament in the same season. Could that potentially happen this year? All I know is we'll know one half of that equation after the game tonight. Wright State, NKU, 7 o'clock to tip off. But, man, if UD doesn't make the tournament and Wright State does.
Oh, goodness.
I'm just saying.
Oh,
I'm not saying.
I'm just saying.
And I'll say it when it's time to say it. But until then, good luck, Wright State, pulling for them tonight. Can't wait. I'm heading down to the floor. I'm done up here. I've been up here too long. I haven't eaten since breakfast. I'm ready to eat my arm off.
Yikes.
All right, I'll be back in studio tomorrow. Kev will be in studio again tomorrow, and yeah, you need a vacation. Have you thought about going on a vacation?
Man, we already been talking about going down to Florida. I haven't been to Disney before. Wife has been to Disney, but she hasn't been since she was like in the 7th grade. So we've been talking about it. So we might do that for spring break.
Yeah, but my luck, you go to Florida and say, you know what, forget that. I ain't coming back. I can see how that would go.
You never know.
Until tomorrow, it's been the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty and Timothy's Bar and Grill on Broad Street.